All right, all right, all right. What is going on, everybody? What is going on? How you guys doing? I think I gotta readjust this mic situation. It's gotten kind of. Just don't know. Don't know how I feel about this. Feels a little loose. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Fuck. Alright, this is a fixable problem. It's a fixable issue. Why did I choose to do this on stream? But still, like, fucking... It's not at the angle I want. Yeah, that's better. I like this better. This is better. Alright. Alright, everybody, what's going on? Real quick. I made it. You guys were close. But I made it. First things first. Could solve it. Someone's avoiding penalties? Yeah, me. I'm happy to be avoiding penalties. 40 more seconds until a point. That's like a pretty wide window. That's a pretty solid window. Hold on. I was actually so tight specifically because I was finishing recording the Patreon podcast. So actually, let me do that real quick. How's everybody doing? I got a good video coming tomorrow. I'm excited to see people's reactions because I don't think this one's basically covering what I believe all the evidence points to being the answer to the secret to damaging the God's Knights, and I think it sets up something pretty interesting for the Strats training angles for the rest of the arc, including Strats who I didn't think had an angle up to this point. So like Zora, for example, this is kind of big for him, honestly. Let's do this. What the hell? What the fuck? There we go. All right. There we go. Yeah. Mavs got the first pick in the draft. Shit's crazy. Wait, so is this the Cooper flag here? I don't want to get too into NBA. I'm also just down about the NBA in general. I only want to talk NBA when, like, teams that I like are doing well. That's when I'm most excited. Not good, it's break week. NBA is unironically rigged. Mavs getting the first pick. Let me process that. That's kind of crazy. I wonder if there's like a makeup thing for the Luka situation. But they don't deserve a makeup thing. This is fucked. Like, the Mavs franchise should just die after what happened. That's not right. I think that's fucked up. Yeah, the Mavs got rewarded. That's really fucked. I mean, is the lottery actually rigged? I feel like there's a chance, because I remember there was that time that it's always related to AD. Because who remembers what happened when the AD to the Lakers trade happened? Right after that, fucking Pelicans got Zion. So, like, they got rewarded for getting what many believe to be bullied by the Lakers. This is interesting. Yeah, Adam Silver. I don't know if the lottery's rigged, but the lottery would be one of the easiest aspects of the NBA to rig. AD drafted, Pels drafted Zion. Yeah, exactly. Caleb Carver said, "You think in the next few chapters we will see Loki's story, the reason why he had no choice but to kill his father?" All right, so let me show you guys this. All right, here's what I think. Here's what I think. Let me show you guys. All right, here's my predictions for the rest of the Elbaf arc. These are the Morge predictions for the rest of the Elbaf arc. I think it's something like this. Elbaf arc predictions. I believe. Is this thing sent yet? Oh my god, it's taking forever. Alright. I believe what happens next is okay. I think currently at low point of arc equals point of failure, as every good story arc requires. I think gods knights leave, but they take something with them. They're leaving with something. All right? I think that's where we're at right now. Okay? So that's here. That's us right now. Then I think we go through this period. All right? Period of... Oh, wait. I think we get some quick cutaways after this, I think. Wait. I was too soon. Hold on. I swear the method for erasing in Microsoft Paint is fucking abysmal. Can I make the paint? Can I make the eraser bigger? I should be able to make the eraser bigger. All right. So then, I think we cut away to some hype shit. Cut away to some hype outside world shit. Revos, Cross Guilds, Shanks, BB, that sort of stuff, you know? Got away to some hype outside world shit. I think, well, personally, I think Siege. I think Siege probably is a good bet, because that's where the other Gods Knights are probably occupied. And that's where Shamrock probably got called back to or something like that. Okay, then I think we get... What am I drawing here? Let's calm down. All right. I think then we get a period of time that's back to Elbaf, character / plot focused stuff, Loki's backstory, Nika lore, Straw Hat character development, plus bit of training. Giants get their shit together. I think that's what happens here. Okay? Then, I think we get one more cutaway. I think one more cutaway to outside world shit. One more cutaway to outside world shit. Some climactic shit going on. Maybe final world war starting. I think it'll be tied to what happens in Elbaf, but I don't really know how. So I think there'll be some blending of events. And then we cut back to Elbaf for the climax. Cut back to Elbaf for climax fight with God's Knights. There we go. I think that's kind of... This is generally how I view the rest of the arc playing out. Something like that. So I feel like if you look at the previous section of the arc, right? We had intro. Hold on. My art needs time. It needs time. All right. Here, some interesting stuff. Then, yeah. This is kind of how it went. Okay, so, Legoland mini story intro. Then we had, like, the entering island, getting context, meeting characters, right? So that was that section. And then we had the God's Knights attack. And that's the first exciting event of the arc, right? Then I think we're really shifting to here. I think after this will be the low point for a little bit, and then we'll be cutting away to some outside world shit shortly afterwards. Then I think we cut back and there's some character story stuff happening. And then we cut back to conclude some outside world shit maybe, and then we cut back to Elbaf for the climax. I feel like that's the general gist of it. Mr. MMF2, thanks for the 20. Yo, more Jussie. Weird take, but I really love the facial expression in this chapter, especially Sommers. He's really growing on me, no pun intended. Sommers is a great villain. He's a great fun villain. And yeah, he's got some connivingly evil facial expressions. Tom says tension mentioned? Yeah. Yeah. Tension is always good, in my opinion. Tom says, I don't know if you saw my tweet to you, but I think it would be disappointingly underwhelming if Shanks' only fight before losing the Blackbeard is Shamrock, since it's basically Shanks v. Shanks. I have some thought. So, I think that the things that have to happen are... Okay, so if you look at potential Shanks... Okay. So if we look at a potential... This is a new thing. How do I make this bigger? Here. Make this bigger. I have a lot of thoughts on matchups that are coming around the corner. I do think that Oda set things up in a way, personally, that a lot of our favorite characters are all going to get... Like, some characters we know are destined for defeat, right? Shanks, destined for defeat. Mihawk, destined for defeat, right? We know that, like, certain characters are, from the beginning, kind of written to defeat these characters, right? You could almost argue that, like, Shanks was written in the first place to be maybe the final pirate for Blackbeard to defeat before Luffy defeats him. And Mihawk was invented to be Zoro's final swordsman opponent or whatever, so destined for defeat, right? So we know certain characters are destined for defeat, but I do feel confident that Oda has set things up in a way that a lot of these characters are going to get good matchups that make them look good and hype them up before we get to their point of defeat. Let's get the stream up to 50 real quick. If we were to look at Shanks, right? I don't think Shamrock is a bad option so long as Shamrock right now Shamrock doesn't seem like an exciting option for Shanks to defeat. Why? Because right now Shamrock has no independent, like, individual hype or feats associated with him. If anything, the reason that we assume Shamrock is strong is because we assume that Shanks is strong, right? So it's kind of circular. It's kind of like, well, Shamrock is Shanks' twin, so that must make him strong. But then what's the coolest thing that Shanks can do in the story? Defeat his twin. Well, that's only hype in the first place because of what we assume Shanks' strength to be, right? So with Shanks, though, if you look at the options for characters that he could fight and defeat before the end of the story, the options are basically, right, like we had, how do I say this? You could say Agorase, right? You could say, like, fight and defeat, right? Because he will probably go down to Blackbeard, so let's cross him off. I don't think Shanks is ever going to fight Mihawk in the story, like, in the current modern day timeline, so that's off. I think all Yonko are off the books, off the cards there, right? So no Yonko, so instead we got Admirals, right? Shanks not gonna fucking defeat Akainu, I don't think. So we got Kizaru, Fujitora, Green Bull. And then you got the God's Knights, right? You got Shamrock. I think any other God's Knight would be not that exciting, right? So you got these are the three options for who Shanks could fight, right? The thing is, I feel like from what we've seen in the story so far, we already got a little preview of Shanks versus an Admiral. So, I mean, the things that we've seen so far, like Shanks versus even someone like Kid, that's a wash. There's nothing exciting about that, right? Shanks versus an Admiral, that's something that I think a lot of us would have thought was interesting, but then we actually got the Green Bull moment, and it kind of just feels like, is it going to be that exciting if we saw Shanks actually fight Green Bull? To me, that moment felt like a very clear moment of just like, Shanks is too far above this character for it to even be exciting. So you don't actually want to see Shanks fight an Admiral, because we've already gotten a scene that basically makes it seem like it would almost take away from Shanks if his like biggest, most serious fight in the story that he wins is against an Admiral. It was kind of already shown that that's not that much of a challenge to him, right? Even if you want to say, well, Kizaru would be totally different than Green Bull or whatever, it's like, at the end of the day, Kizaru is also someone we just saw Luffy fight, right? Like, I imagine most people want a fight for, like, with the amount of buildup that Shanks has, people want a fight that's something that's, like, a step up from these guys. So Admirals are kind of off the market there. Then you've got the Gorosei. And with the Gorosei, like, look, right off the bat, Jupiter, Mars, Saturn, not too impressive. You could really only argue that Warcury and maybe Venus Juro were, like, Mars wasn't not impressive. He just wasn't, he's like none of the Gorosei I think were hyped up that much. I think Warcury's the only one that seemed particularly formidable coming out of them, because Luffy couldn't deal with him. So I would say like Shanks defeating Warcury or something like that could be exciting. Or, of course, the final Gorosei who got introduced, who seems the most exciting, which is Garling, right? So that basically gives us three options for a cool Shanks win overall. The problem is that if Shanks beats Warcury, then Garling and Shamrock, they both seem like these two characters are just clearly Shanks related. So it feels like there's something more story related that would indicate that it makes sense for Shanks to fight one of these two. Whereas Warcury, to me, seems a little bit random. So I imagine Garling or Shamrock would be good matchups. Yeah, so with Garling or Shamrock being good matchups, I think that the only problem with these two is that with Warcury, we've seen stuff that hypes him up. With these two characters, it's hypothetical. So I think ultimately what kind of needs to happen is we need more hype for some of these characters before we get to see some of the characters that we care about defeat him. Like, if Dragon strolls up and defeats Garling right now, it's not going to really mean jack shit for Dragon because we don't have any idea of how strong Garling is. So that's why I think that over the course of the Elbaf arc, we will get some cutaways to what's actually really going on out there, right? Like, maybe we get a bit of the siege warfare, and so we get to see Garling in action finally. Maybe we get to see Shamrock in action, actually, finally, because he got called back to Marijua. Stuff like that could then hype up these villains that would then make it exciting to see characters that we want to see get fights, like a Dragon, like a Shanks, like a Mihawk or something, defeat them. See what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? All right, we should probably get into the predictions. Let's get into predictions. Or let me catch up on supers real quick, but I imagine some supers are predictions, so it all blends together. Jolly D. Joestar, thanks for the 2. JoJo's Part 9 is popping off BTW, just binge it yearly. So that would be like 12 chapters per year, and the chapters are probably pretty thick, so that'd be fun to read. I will wait longer for JoJo. I haven't heard that much buzz. Please don't spoil anything, but I haven't heard that much buzz on the streets about JoJo's Part 9. I lost a lot of faith after Part 8, so I'm not like itching to read the next JoJo's part. I'm gonna let the whole thing I think, honestly, with Part 9, I'll probably just let the whole thing finish out, and then just read if people say it's good, then I'll go ahead and read it. I think the big thing with me with JoJo's is that I think out of all the authors that I regularly read, like mangaka that I regularly read, I think Araki is the one who has given me, over time, the least amount of confidence that he is got a good plan for the end. Does that make sense? So for better or worse, he has not given me, and I think Part 8 really, really bummed me out about that. And I value endings a lot in stories. I just do. That's yeah, I value endings a lot. Um, I think especially because at least with JoJo's, you could argue that the stand battles are a really good thing that always hold up regardless of how the direction the story goes or whatever. I don't remember Part 8 having particularly good stand battles. It had some interesting variations on stand battles. Like, I remember mild spoilers, like a stag beetle thing and like the leaves thing. I thought those were interesting. But yeah, it's not exactly uh, I don't know. Like with part eight, it just disappointed me with the plot and with the stand battles. I'm just not in a super JoJo's centric, like JoJo's mood at the moment. I'll get into it soon enough. Sorry, let me just upload this Patreon that I recorded. Hold on. Harley, Casey, hey, inside. Harley, inside. Sorry, I'm watching my girlfriend just try to corral them. Okay. Anyway, yeah, JoJo's. I don't know. See, if people are raving about Part 9 like they did about Part 7, I mean, Part 7 just got okayed for the anime adaptation, so we're close to something. Um, uh, hold on. There we go. Okay, that's off my list. Took care of that. One Piece, One Life. Thanks for the 5. Prediction: Gaban goes crazy but loses to Sommers. Low point. Then Monster Trio plus Loki return and force the Gods Knights away, but not necessarily defeated. Oh man, I would fucking hate if. I really don't. Gaban getting humbled here would not be. Gaban losing here, I just don't. I don't like that idea. But I'll put it down here. Let me pull up the list. Let me pull up the predictions thing. Gaban losing here, I just don't know about that because he just came in with so much hype and swagger and everything like that, and it just seems like this is like he's in control of the situation. So if after all that it's just like he took his arm, he took like Sommers' arm. So if like right after that it's like, oh well, then Gaban just gets fucked up, that would suck. If he gets fucked up by like a team effort, that's one thing. Maybe if like everyone like teams up on him and does something, like all the Gods Knights, I could see that. Maybe that's cool. Or through some trickery or something like that. But I wouldn't want Gaban to just lose a straight fight to Scopper. So let's see. Gaban goes crazy but loses to Sommers. Here, we're gonna make this bigger for the moment. Sommers, low point. Then Monster Trio plus Loki return and force God's Knights away. Not necessarily defeated. I think that's so. Here's the catch with Elbaf right now, right? I'm saying lots of good things. I'm saying I like all of the things that are happening so far in terms of seeing the Straw Hats on the back foot, Giants of Elbaf, basically, you know, getting fucked up, the entire nation crumbling. I like all that. Good stuff. The problem is that the Monster Trio are too strong now. Particularly Luffy, he's a Yonko, right? So the Monster Trio, it's just like, it's hard for Oda to truly create scenarios out of the blue where these characters would be, where like the whole crew, like this whole situation would feel very, very different if we just watched Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji also get washed and also get captured in straight combat. Like, not through trickery or anything like that, but just in straight combat. I don't think any characters in the world can do that to Luffy at this point in time. I think that'd be very, very difficult. I think the last time something like that could easily happen to Luffy was with Kaido in Act 1. So that's the one hang-up. And I think that's why some people even don't find Elbaf that exciting right now, because while exciting things are happening, we know in the back of our heads that this is all only capable of happening because, like, you know, the big three, and fucking Loki too, have been written out of the story for this stuff to take place. So it's just a little bit different. Like, it doesn't feel quite the same. Like, if you're reading Water 7... and you see the CP9 fuck up Luffy and Zoro at the same time. Like, Lucci just fucks up Luffy and Zoro, like, who are taking it serious and going all out pretty badly, pretty easily at the start of the arc. That creates a really strong atmosphere and sense of pressure. And it's like, damn, they really got fucked up. This is a little bit different. Not every arc needs to be super dark like Water 7 got, or I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that maybe why I think that we've reached a point where really, unless bad shit's happening to the monster trio, it doesn't feel quite as meaningful because, you know, they're just that much stronger than the rest of the crew. Let's get the stream lights up to 50 real quick. Cesar Naro, thanks for the 2. Morge Farquad. Oh, is that what my hair looks like at the moment? Oh, fuck. Lord. Oh, my God. Eric J.O., thanks for bringing Yonko to your member for 19 months, man. Thanks for the long time support. Sup, Morge. My prediction is we see Sanji's reaction to hearing observation haki Robin's scream from Sommer's attack. Also set up for Giban and Sanji to meet. Oh, that's a cool prediction. I like that. Sanji arrives thanks to hearing Robin's screams. Sets up for Sanji and Giban to meet. Oh, whoops. Let me give credit for the first one, too. One Piece, One Life. Okay. And then after that, set up for Sanji and Giban to meet. Okay. All right. Oh, this is a random side thing. I think I can now gift memberships. I think that's been a thing for a little bit. So let me see if I can do that. Let me see if I can I gift a membership? Hold on. Can I do that? Hold on. Let me just click somebody. No, okay. I believe that there should be some way I could gift a membership, but I don't see how I could do that. All right. That's going back in the... What the fuck? Okay, hold on. I thought I could gift... I'm pretty sure I can gift membership. I'm pretty sure I can gift memberships. I was going to say that can be a reward as well. Like, people can pick. If they get their predictions right for the week, you can pick if you want to get moderator or member. And then that way, if you're already a moderator or something, you can still get membership. Hold on. Let's see. YouTuber, how to gift memberships as a YouTuber. To gift memberships on YouTube. What the fuck? How to this is Wait. Okay, hold on. Okay. Hold on. You can give 10. I can give 10 free memberships per month. Click something. Click the dollar bill icon below the chat. Click a dollar bill icon below the chat. Okay, that doesn't do that. That doesn't work. Let me try what if I just pull up the YouTube video? If I just pull up the video and I'm not in YouTube Studio. You guys don't even know what I'm talking about right now. That's okay. Load the chat. All right, hold on. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out for you guys. You guys deserve this. What the fuck? Okay. I can gift it. I can gift it. All right. Membership gifting. I have 10 memberships. I could give 10 memberships to you guys. All right. Okay. Cool. But it only lets me gift it in batches of 5 for some reason. Okay, let me just test it. This is just a test run, all right? You guys ready? You ready? Let's just do a test run. Actually, hold on. Can I pick the 10? Why does it just say send 5 now? All right, first of all, let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. I'm only going to gift the memberships once our stream likes are up. I think that's a fair trade-off. All right. If I send 5 now, why can't I just pick the 5? Why can't I just pick the 5? All right. Yeah, let's get the stream likes up, and then we'll gift some memberships. Eric J.O. Okay, sorry. So you said, Eric J.O. said this. We covered that. Albin Clayson says, Shanks is fighting Luffy like Roger versus Whitebeard, in my opinion. Gifts are random? Oh, I can't pick? What the fuck? That's stupid. Okay. Why is this? But how's that? What the fuck? Why can't I pick? Isn't that the whole point? Lucky recipients selected by YouTube get 1 access. Okay. All right. Well, never mind. So it can't be a reward. It can't be a reward, but apparently I can gift 5 memberships whenever. What level of membership is it? I believe it's Is it Yonko tier? Is it Yonko tier? People who have been gifted memberships before? Fuck it. I'm just going to send 5 now. Let's do it. I sent 5 memberships. Okay. Jolly D. Joestar, Evil Friend, Nighthawk, Abrar Ahmed, and Cody Long. All right, good stuff. Can somebody confirm what member tier you now are, if you weren't already a member? Somebody confirm what level you are. Yeah, Yonko tier? Yeah. I wonder how it picks that. Because there should be, I think, Supernova, Yonko, Pirate. I think there's 3 tiers. All right. Shanks is fighting Luffy like Roger versus Whitebeard, in my opinion. Are you saying later on? I think Shanks would wash Luffy right now. Just based on... For a while, I thought Luffy's a lot stronger than we realized, but now I'm back to like, I don't fucking know with this dude. I don't know how strong Luffy's supposed to be. Yeah, I mean, Shanks fighting Luffy to a draw could be really cool down the line, but I figure the character also needs a solid win against a character that counts, you know? So just fighting Luffy, I don't know if that means all that much at the end of the day. Okay, hold on. Let me catch up on supers. Hold on. Marcel Beans, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 16 months, man. Gaban will show you that you don't mess with an old era pirate by driving away Sommers and saving Rania. Yeah, I fucking forgot about Rania. Okay, hold on. Gaban will drive away Sommers and save... How's her name spelled? Rania? Okay, there we go. Marcel Beans. Gaban fucks up Sommers, but Gunko saves Sommers. Okay, so I'll add that in. Okay. Gunko saves Sommers from Gaban. Evil Friend. Akash Bandit, thanks, man. Thanks for the 5. Your Elbaf prediction bears uncanny resemblances with Raid Fail 2-part battle stuff, which has me worried about Elbaf given what happened last time. The thing is, though, that's like how I feel like most One Piece arcs go. Like, pretty much every One Piece arc. The Raid Fail was the exception. Every major One Piece arc, I would argue. The Raid Fail was the exception to the rule. So that's why I view it as... That was part of the reason that I was so hell-bent on the Raid Fail, because I was just like, this is what Oda's... This is his bread and butter. And this is like most stories' narrative structure bread and butter. This is what creates a good drama, a good, healthy drama. But Oda was like, fuck that, not this time. This time they just waltz Onigashima and just win. All right. Star Bright, thanks for the 5. The Gaban downplay that's been going around is so corny to see. People pray he gets hype tooled, and I don't know why, and it all comes from a certain group. I mean, we talked about this last stream. It is stupid because it's just like he's he's his own, like, I just think it's too far. Like, it's just weirdly obsessive and stupid when it's literally just like hating on Gabon, who's a cool ass character, just because you're a Zoro fan. Like, it's one thing to be like, to like nitpick all of Sanji's feats and be like, was this a big deal, not a big deal? Like, I get that. That's just part of the Zoro Sanji rivalry to try and take away from the other person. But then, like, we're just being introduced to a totally cool, like a totally different cool character from the past who's doing cool shit and has a cool personality, cool fighting style, cool lore, all of that stuff. But because he's viewed, like, Zoro fans just view him like, it's like almost like a fear thing. It's like they view him as an extension of Sanji, so then they just like get like they get really, really scared about him. They're like, no, we can't pretend there's anything cool or likable about this character because all we see when we see him is Sanji. And it's like, this is his own, it's a different character. It's not even Sanji. This isn't Sanji. This is his own character. You don't have to fucking shit your pants about what Gabon does or doesn't do. It's just stupid because, like, I think this does make Zoro fans look really, really bad. Because I think in lots of instances, you can be like, Zoro fans and Sanji fans are equally delusional and obsessive about hating the other group. But then this is, like, next level. Because Sanji fans, I talked about this last stream, I don't think Sanji fans hate Rayleigh. I don't think I can recall Sanji fans shitting on Rayleigh, really. As far as I know, I don't think they really shit on Rayleigh. Like, I just don't remember. Like, the last time Rayleigh did something, which was he stopped Blackbeard at Amazon Lily, I don't remember there being, like, a legion of Sanji fans talking about why this is actually, like, makes Rayleigh look like shit. I don't know. I just don't think... I think this is, like, next level. Havana, thanks a lot. Hello, Morjinder Singh. My prediction is that Rania will fall but land in the underworld safely somehow with Luffy and friends. Alright, we got some Rania predictions in here. I'm going to be honest, guys. I'm not moved by Rania. Just because this is a random character. I think I'd be moved by her if she was a character that we knew. But this is, like, really fucking random. She's like, it's okay, I've always been lucky. I'm like, who are you? This would help if we knew a little bit about you. But I get that people, I guess, like the character now. Rania will fall but land in underworld safely with Luffy and friends. Alright. Part 7 is a big exception to Araki's mediocre writing, says Nanduvi. I strongly... The tricky thing with JoJo... Like, I like Part 7, but the difficult thing with JoJo's is that Part 7's existence skewed a lot of people's opinions on JoJo's, I feel, because, like, prior to that, JoJo's is basically a meme-based series. Like, it's just a lot of meme-y... Like, it's more of a meme than an actual story. It's just a series that nobody kind of... You can't really take it seriously the first several parts. It's, like, so goofy, so dumb, doesn't take itself seriously, so illogical. Just no real sense of, like, general storytelling rules or anything like that. It just does its own thing. And it's like, JoJo... You like JoJo's almost... You kind of like JoJo's almost ironically before that. Then Part 7 actually tells, in its own weird way, a pretty unique and, like, a pretty unique and in some ways deep story, right? And so then that skews all the other, like, it almost validates all the diehard JoJo fans who are like, see, this series is so good. Whereas before then, it's not a good series. It's just, like, its own silly, goofy thing. And, like, people obsess over it, in my opinion, ironically. But then all of a sudden, like, an actually good part comes out. And it's like, oh my god, see, it actually is the greatest thing ever. And it's like, okay, no, that's just, this is not representative of the rest. But maybe it set JoJo's on a new path, right? That's what I was thinking. So I was like, maybe this is Araki's actually got this, like, actual good-ass writing and stuff in his bag. And then he puts out Part 8, and it's like, no, never mind. This is And I really love the first half of Part 8, actually. First half of Part 8, I had extremely high hopes for the series. Because, like, I was thinking that this was going to be my favorite part, even over Part 7 as Part 8 progressed. And I was just so disappointed with the way it ended. I think I still like the part, actually. But that's more so a testament to, like, the earlier JoJo parts are kind of wonky in so many ways. What's my ranking off the top of my head? I think I got Part 7 at number 1. I like Part 4 a lot. It feels very nice, homey, cozy. Then maybe Part 3. Maybe then Part 8. Maybe then Part 5. Then Part 6. Then Part 2. Then Part 1. But here's the thing. Part 5 is the best in some ways. It's hard to explain. Like, Part 5 is the best episode to episode anime viewing experience. I just found, so early on it was really high up for me. I think I had it second after Part 7. But then as time has gone on, that's what it is with JoJo's. As time goes on, some things stick with you a little bit more. Maybe it's the characters, or maybe it's just the vibe or whatever. So I think Part 5, when I was viewing the anime, I felt Part 5 was the strongest by far. Beautiful animation, best fights, best pacing, best sense of momentum to the plot. Like, it was just the best at so many things. I think as time has been removed, I just have a sort of nostalgia for Part 4, nostalgia for Part 3, even if they're weaker in terms of, like, certain writing aspects. And then Part 2 and Part 1 I consider to be borderline unwatchable for me to go back to. And Part 6, it's got a really awesome ending, but I think it's got a lot of issues. Not issues, it's just a lot of weak shit before then. So every part's got its own pros and cons. Part 8, it's still very unique. I think I still put it high among the JoJo's parts, but I think it never lived up to its potential, personally. Dick so small, I piss on my balls. Thanks for the 5. We get a flashback to God Valley between Gabon and Somers. Oh shit, that would be dramatic. That would be sick. That is a bold prediction. Flashback. That would be amazing. I think that's the most exciting prediction so far. Kid Smitty 94. Oh shit. Kid Smitty 94, thanks for the 10, man. Chopper uses scope from hiding, and he gets to reveal how to beat regeneration. Chopper gets to? I don't know if scope can pick out hockey. I don't know if it can do that, and I think it's a hockey-based thing. Would be juxtaposed with Gabon demonstrating. There's a small panel in 1148 that looks like him paying closer attention. Let me see. What's the small panel you refer to? It must be the world's tiniest panel. But it would be cool, because for the moment, only Robin really got her shine. Right? Robin got her shine. It would be cool if it turns out that Chopper's actually looking at some shit too. The thing is, Chopper shouldn't have to use scope to figure that shit out, because I figure that, like, shouldn't Gabon just be willing to tell them? Where's this tiny panel of Chopper observing? I can't find this panel. Is this the panel? All right, I'm just going to assume I missed the panel, but I believe you. Okay, I'm going to put it down. I'll put it down. Chopper uses scope from hiding, and he reveals how to beat regeneration. I would love to see Scopper use Scope again. I think that'd be a phenomenal inclusion at this point in the story. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. All right. Oh, wait, let me make a quick note for myself, too. Zolden, thanks for the 2. Tomorrow's video will be confirmed to be true. Tomorrow's video will be confirmed to be true? Yeah, they'll... Oh, yeah. Oh, that's... Oh, shit. Oh, man. I like that, Zolden. Okay. Borges theory video from Herb to be... I like the way you think, Zolden. For those of you who don't know, tomorrow's theory is about how Gabon damaged Somers. I like the way you think, Zolden. Primo Showtime, thanks for the 10. I'm going to be a 2 times prediction champion. 1, Brook uses Devil Fruit to alert Luffy and others, or we get explanation as to why Loki killed his dad. You can't do an or. Okay. Hold on. You can't do an or. I guess I'll do both. I can do both for you. I can do both. Try to keep it to 1 prediction per, because otherwise you can just throw out a bunch of things. But I can do it. I can make. Yeah, the rules aren't that hard and fast. All right. Also, you made me think. I think we should have in the chapter review videos when they come out, we should do a running list of past winners. I think that'd be fun for people if we do a running list of past winners. Brook uses his DF to alert Luffy and others. That would be a cool use of his fruit for sure. I think I forget about that use of his fruit. And then we get explanation of why Loki killing dad. Shakir, thanks for the 2. Gabon's axes are supreme grade blades. Oh shit, that would be sick. That would be a sick reveal. I think it was cool when we found out that, like, even Whitebeard, like, supreme grade blades don't just have to be swords. Like, Whitebeard had one. Dylan breaks down. Thanks for the 10. Hey, Lorge, fake Lind on an alt. What the fuck? Okay, all right, fake Lind. That's... This is super fake at this point. So you fake Linskoff on an alt. I think it's like Mihawk's Blackblade or... No. God damn it, man. I can't even read your comment out loud. Just watch tomorrow's video. I can put it down. I think it's like Mihawk's Blackblade or Joy Boy's not an imbuement. I can't... Also, my second video hit 500 views in 2 days. First took 2 weeks. Thank you. Oh, no worries, man. That's awesome. Congrats. I unfortunately cannot put down... I mean, I can put down your comment. It's just the same as... You can't repeat previous things, so just watch tomorrow's video. Just watch tomorrow's video. I'll put it down. You know what? We'll say we can both be right. Okay. Gabon's trick revealed to be similar to Blackblades / hockey, not Now show, thanks for the 5. Monster Trio saves Rania when she falls. Yeah, I've been hearing some people talk about that. Oops. Monster Trio saves Rania when she falls. We've kind of already got that, right? So maybe I just do... Yeah, I think So I'll do the other part of your comment. Loki talks to Den Mushi, someone in Sun Realm tells them what's happening. Yarrow. Because Jarl is pretty shaggy, but I don't think Jarl would talk like that. And Loki would recognize Jarl's voice. I'll put it down, though. All right. We're going to open up a second group of talking points over here. Predictions. Marcel Beans, thanks for the 10, man. After nearly a whole chapter for introducing Ronnie and her bravery and optimism to us, Morge be like, who is this random girl? She should fall. It's not a whole we just met the character, though. I'm not moved by characters like when we first, like, it's the example I give is like, if the Minx just told us Raizo Dono is safe right off the bat, I'd be like, who are you guys? You know, like, I like getting to know characters a little bit first before then getting to see great displays of who they are. That's more moving to me, because otherwise you just throw it, like, you just get thrown into it and you're like, who is the, like, here's a little girl and she's like really brave or something. Like, I don't know, like the sacrifice moment feels meaningful if I get to know the character a little bit before I find out they're willing to make that sacrifice. That creates an impact for me. Otherwise, you can just, every other chapter, just write in a new character and be like, oh my god, isn't it crazy this character's willing to make a sacrifice? That's like skipping steps of storytelling, in my opinion. Like, establish this character, then when they're willing to make a sacrifice, it has meaning, to me. Nandu V, thanks for the 2. How would you compare Togashi versus Oda's writing styles? I think they're very different. I think they're very, very, very different. I think almost everything that I think Oda's really good at, Togashi's not good at, and I think everything, or doesn't care about as much, and I think everything Togashi's really good at, Oda's not as good at, or doesn't care about. The simplest ways I would say are basically like, if I were to create a quick mental Venn diagram, like let me just do a few bigger picture things, or few bullet points, okay? Oda's biggest strength overall, I think, is like extreme long-term planning and vision for a story where every piece is like slotting into a bigger piece and a bigger piece and a bigger piece, and like creating this really large overarching story where everything's connecting and building. Hunter x Hunter, I think, is almost the exact opposite, where for the majority of the series, every single arc was fairly standalone and only tied together really by the general thread of like Gon trying to find his father. But we got very little sense of like an overarching story or plot or like something that needs to be built towards like a larger conflict or something like that. It's once we hit the Hunters Association, Hunters election arc, the chairman election arc, then we got this idea that there's like a dark continent that needs to go be explored, and then that becomes the fundamental conflict of the overall story. But up till then, it's kind of just like every arc, it's just new location, but very, very different, and not really piecing together. And the biggest thing is that Hunter x Hunter, the writing style is such that whereas Oda wants to create something that's very large and grand and very cohesive, with Hunter x Hunter, it almost feels like Togashi wants to switch the writing style or focus arc to arc because he has a fresh take on like, okay, this arc is going to be like a political arc. Okay, this arc is going to be like more of a traditional shonen type arc. This arc is going to be like a big murder mystery on a ship or things like that. Like this arc's going to center around like a romance or something like that. He really, really almost switches genres practically from arc to arc and writing styles. Like you look at the writing style of the current arc and you compare it to like Greed Island, it's totally different. You compare Greed Island to Chimera Ant arc, totally different. Use of the narrator, the type of character focus that he's doing. Togashi really, really likes mixing up his stuff, whereas with One Piece, Oda's really good at plot twists and surprises, but One Piece has a very consistent style and tone, and we regularly see very, very similar patterns in terms of the type of stories that he likes to tell. A lot of One Piece arcs are kind of like repackaging the same thing, but in a grander vision or with more ideas in it and things like that, right? But Oda's creating a much larger, more comprehensive, singular epic, whereas Togashi's kind of using the world of Hunter x Hunter and its characters to like do whatever he wants, arc to arc for the most part. Those are the two. That's the single biggest difference, I think, between the two types of stories, and then everything else is a lot smaller things. Like Togashi's willing to go a lot darker, and like the world in general is much more okay with killing off characters. Oda goes for a much more bright, light world in general that does have its dark sides. I think that Togashi really, really likes almost like very cerebral writing. Oda is not as focused on very cerebral writing. Dialogue is more simple. The way characters think is more simple. Oda likes emotions quite a bit. So, like, for example, this last chapter, the Rania chapter, like, he likes writing characters with big emotions, big emotional scenes very frequently. Togashi can do emotional stuff as well, but usually he'll have to go, like, a darker route to say, like, isn't this, like, a really fucked up or tragic thing that's happening? That's not to say he can't write strong emotional scenes or whatever. It's just what each author kind of slants towards. I could get into, like, more details beyond that, but I think in general there's almost like nothing that I think Oda's a lot better at writing comedy. I think there's very little overlap in terms of what each author is actually good at writing wise. I think there's almost nothing that is like I would be like this is a strength of Oda's that I'd be like that's a strength of Togashi's. Drake Werner says, but doesn't Oda constantly include and explore different genres each island? For example, Whole Cake, you had a little bit of Mafia, but Super Sentai, Disney, etc. Yeah, so that's the difference, which is like Oda likes to dabble in the idea of genres, but it's still ultimately a One Piece arc. Like, if Oda's writing, like, Thriller Bark, that's like a spooky horror arc or whatever, but it's using those cliches and those setups. The plot is still going to progress in a One Piece manner. The tone is still going to be very One Piece. It's kind of just like, here we're at this island and we're fighting zombies and stuff, but like it still falls in the context of like, okay, there's like an arc boss and Luffy goes in, they're going to explore the island, meet the citizens, yada yada, and then all of that. So, like the same stuff is going to play out. Like the Mafia, they've got like this mafia scene set up in Whole Cake and everything like that. And so it's kind of like the Straw Hats play at Mafia for a little bit, but then it quickly devolves into like usual One Piece storytelling, right? Whereas with Togashi, if he's writing like the Prince's arc, right? He is going full on into like a legit like, okay, this is going to be like a big ass full on murder mystery. We've got almost none of our main characters, right? Kurapika is the only regular character here. Whole new batch of characters. The rules are almost very different. The plot structure is totally different from previous arcs. Like everything is very, very tailored to telling this type of story. It's not going to be similar to past types of stories. Like Camarant is very, very different from Greed Island. York New is very, very different from the Tower Training arc. Like every arc is like it's committing to a different type of story each time, and committing to what comes with that genre or what comes with that style. Whereas Oda likes to draw inspiration from lots of different things, and it's like, okay, this one has like a samurai, like it's kind of like, okay, you know how in like Scooby-Doo, especially in the Scooby-Doo movies, a lot of it is Scooby-Doo in Hawaii, Scooby-Doo in like Australia or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, who knows the Scooby-Doo movies? Like, it's like you take Scooby-Doo, you take that framework or whatever, and then you put it in this new context or whatever, but it's still generally trying to tell a Scooby-Doo story, basically. Like, it's gonna hit all the same beats. It's just like, oh, we're Scooby-Doo, but we're in, Mexico, and we're dealing with the Chupacabra this time or whatever. That's how I feel like One Piece is. Hunter x Hunter is more like, I'm going to pick, like, this type of context, genre, this type of story to tell, this type of thematic philosophical slant or something like that. And I'm going to commit to that, and I'm going to bring in some of my Hunter x Hunter characters to make it a Hunter x Hunter story technically, right? Like I'm going to does that make sense? It's kind of like you're putting the context first and then the inserting in whatever characters you think fit in best there. Whereas with One Piece, it's more like it's a Scooby-Doo story first, and then we're going to put in different context for them around it. I do have... Hold on, sorry. I've got a call-in. I fucking forgot. I'm sorry. Monte, I got a call-in. We got a call-in, so we got 10 minutes of Monte right here. Sorry, Monte. My bad. Hold on. My bad. Link working? Okay, there we go. Good analogy? Okay, I was worried that one wouldn't make any fucking sense, but... Alright, here we go. And that's not to say one is better than the other. At the end of the day, I ultimately obviously prefer One Piece. I like the grand epic that is built. But if I go into any individual... Oh, whoops. I didn't let you in. If I go into any individual Hunter x Hunter arcs, I expect to be more likely to be surprised by the type of story or direction that it goes. Monte, what is going on?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Thanks for joining. Sorry, I was a couple minutes behind. I'm sorry, Ben. I just went off on my
I
tangent.
cannot hear you right now.
Oh,
Let me
hold on.
let me see.
Testing. Hello.
Yo.
All right, my stuff is
Okay,
working.
now I can hear you.
And then
Ah,
I think chat won't be able to hear you I got desktop. Can you say something?
Yo.
All right, chat can hear you. All right, good stuff.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for joining, man.
Yep. Of course. I gotta say, good prediction on the God's nice thing. The first time I heard that, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, I do not know what he's talking about in terms of like
What was the prediction?
them uh like before this arc started, in terms of them
Oh,
fighting the Straw Hats. Because
way
I didn't think they
back.
were gonna fight the Straw Hats. Yeah.
I honestly,
Yeah.
I felt like they were going to be Revolutionary Army villains down the line, but I was leaning towards okay, they might be in Elbaf, and then we deal with them somewhat, but not permanently. Kind of like the Gorosei. Kind of like the Gorosei were debuted in Egghead, but that's not where the Gorosei ultimately went down. So I think that's kind of what I'm leaning towards here.
Yeah, no, I agree because they got so much to contribute to, and it's like I'm still holding on to like at least some of them fighting the Revs, and it's like the Revs gotta I don't know how to word this, but it's like it's not like the story is gonna end in like 5 chapters, but it's like considering the amount of material that Oda has built up to tackle with the Revs, he's gotta he's
Yeah,
gotta get into them as like main characters because it's like, bro, you're running
yeah.
out of time.
And you know what's funny?
Oh.
I'm also a little bit thrown because I'm just like, with the Revolutionaries, if their enemies are really going to be the God's Knights, how is every revolutionary going to be able to actually damage a God's Knight? Because I feel like it's one thing if Scopper Gaban knows this special trick. Is every revolutionary going to know this special trick? Like, is fucking Lindbergh going
There's
to know
no
this
way.
trick?
I was literally about to name Lindbergh. There's
Yeah,
also the egg dude.
yeah. I'm just wait. The egg dude.
If he,
Well, Morley. The
he's no. Like the sub commander,
the
whatever
sub
that,
commanders.
the lieutenant.
I don't even.
Yeah,
Those are
whatever.
characters I'm like, why is Oda even writing these guys in? But it is what it is. Maybe they're good. Maybe we
Yeah,
like them.
yeah. I think they're just meant to be fun.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's how it stays. I can't take the egg dude seriously
Yeah, I
at all.
just don't want to end up in like a Raizo versus Fukurokuju situation where we're in the final war, but we keep cutting away to some matchup between this egg dude. Was there a cow also involved as one of the sub commanders, or am I imagining that?
Yeah. That's like a cow mink kind of. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to be cutting away to this cow mink or something fighting like the weakest CP0 member or something like that for like all the way through the finale or something. So that's my only thought. I like keeping it to the characters that are exciting, but you know, it is what it is. I don't know
Yeah,
how Lindbergh or a lot of these revolutionaries are going to damage any of the God's Knights, though. That makes no sense to me just yet.
I feel like they got to be like maybe combined with the Gorosei. I don't know exactly how he's gonna segment it, but they've got to be like the forces that like kind of unite the Straw Hats and the Revs that kind of give them like a real obstacle to come together against,
Yeah,
so it's like the nine or whatever God's Knights, however many
yeah.
uh can just be distributed there. But I don't know. But the Revs, that's actually where my question lies, because
Hmm.
what do you think Oda's plan is for the Revs, like in like the short to medium term? Because that's kind of where I'm
So I
always changing my mind.
so I actually think that the revolutionaries are going to be sorry, a pretty prominent group because how do I say this? So in most One Piece stories, right? Like any story that has to do with any One Piece arc that has to do with rebellion, right? It usually involves us getting to an island, like let's say Dressrosa. Like we get to Dressrosa, we kind of meet the current revolution, right? So that's like Kiros and the Tantadas and everything like that, and they're already planning to take down Doflamingo. So we kind of meet the current revolution, and then the Straw Hats join in as the heroes that'll really make it succeed, right? Same thing with
Yeah,
Wano. We kind of, we obviously we meet the samurai early, but like we're getting into the Wano arc and we're meeting the existing revolution, right? So it's like the scabbards, um, the scabbards who are leading, the will of the Kazuki or whatever to rise up against Orochi and Kaido and overthrow them, right? Like this is a thing that we see throughout. Like you can even go back to like Arlong Park or something, and we get to Nami's village, and like we meet Gen, and Nojiko and stuff, and they kind of try to lead a rebellion to save the village, but the Strahd step in to save things instead, right?
yeah. It's the same
Skype,
thing with like
Skypiea,
Iceberg
yeah,
as well.
like
Yeah, Skype as well.
Skypiea, most of the One Piece arcs, right? Like we meet Wiper, the Chandrins. There's usually any rebellion based storyline. There's like a group of characters that we have to meet that are already going to be sort of spearheading the rebellion. I think that's like pretty important for One Piece because usually the Strahds come in from a pretty like we're doing our own thing sort of angle. So it's
Yeah,
hard to yeah.
there's no way to like realistically write Luffy, or even like even somebody smarter like Nami putting her into that situation, and like with us having like or like needing to be introduced to all the background knowledge and everything there as well,
Yeah.
and just have the Straw Hats come up with a plan and everything.
Yeah, like they need to be dropped in on some people that already care and have already been like trying to figure out a way to do this and are already driven to do this. And then the Strats are like they are like the group that comes in as the trump card to really make things actually work for this rebellion. And it kind of fits like with what Luffy's been built up as is like, Nika, he's the god, he represents this god of freedom that like when people pray enough for help, then he comes and liberates you or whatever, right? So the Strats are kind of like the answer to people's prayers in a lot of these situations, but there's always some group that's already trying to fight. And
Yeah.
the Strats come in to
And
help. So, yep.
yeah, oh, my fault.
No, all good.
With
Sorry.
the with the end of Egghead, I feel like this is the closest the story has gotten to kind of making that fit for the Revs in terms of like, 'cause it's like they always had their own goal, but it never coincided, or what is it, came together with the Verge, I guess, with the finding the One Piece as a goal. Now it's kind of like
Yeah,
being framed that way
that's
and
a great
everything,
point.
where it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, so it's like they actually have an objective, and there's so much in Egghead where it's like, all right, like Dragon wasn't people didn't get what they wanted out of Dragon, and
Yeah.
I'm with them there, but
Eh.
it's like it's like the amount of stuff we got out of Egghead for like the Revs to like build on, like there's still like Ivankov just keeps getting like, all right, why do you know this? Like the Buccaneer lore,
Yeah.
Emu, it's like like what does he know? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
also like interesting like story decision from Oda, in my opinion, for Dragon to be the one that like talked to Saul in like that Vegapunk flashback,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
them like they I don't know what he's setting up.
Hmm.
Also Sabo with like the Flame Emperor thing, it just feels like there's a lot that got set up, but I have no idea how it's meant to
Yeah,
uh,
I don't
go.
know how it'll all come together. I do think like them connecting with Vivi in some way because I think a large part of the final revolution has to be like the kings of the nations also getting behind the revolution because like the whole world needs to be pushed to want to see the celestial dragons fall. But like basically, I view the revolutionaries. I feel like they'll be heavily focused on in the final saga, like you've been saying, because I feel like they are the equivalent of like what Wiper and the Chandrins were in Skypiea, what Kiros and the Tentatas were in Dressrosa, what the Scabbards were in Wano. The revolutionaries are essentially that for like the story of the entire world, where they're going to be the ones who have like been setting the stage and getting things moving and like pushing people to rebel and getting the whole world on their side to rebel against the celestial dragons. And then the Strats are going to be the ones that come in and actually like make it happen because ultimately the revolutionaries are just not, they're not going to be, they'll do a lot but they're not going to be able to do enough to do it on their own, but they're going to be like at the center of the plot in my opinion. Like they're going to be really central figures of making the revolution really begin and getting the whole ball rolling, and they'll have like a big impact I think over the course of the arc. So I think we're going to get to know that group of characters really really well over the course of the next couple arcs for sure.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like this arc in specific as well, because what was I gonna say? It's like I feel like we got a lot of we got a lot just through the small like Shanks kid
Yeah,
like fight and like the kind of like small things that we got related to Shanks throughout like Egghead and a little bit through Elbaf with like the buggy
yeah,
um
yeah, yeah. The
like
little
mini
flashback.
flashback.
Yeah, I forgot about
Yeah,
that. That was
and
good.
it's like yeah, I feel like the Revs are kind of in that position compared to like where the red hair parts were last arc in a sense, where it's like they could have their cutaway build up and like I don't know, maybe the arc
Yeah.
after.
No, I think you're right because I do believe that we'll get a little bit of a scene over the course of Elbaf, like Elbaf focused on like that siege that they're doing. So I think we're gonna get some more action out of them because right now we know Sabo decently, but we really don't know Dragon or any of the subordinates too well. So I think the siege scene could help us get to know the revolutionaries a bit better, and then I think they definitely take center stage in the final war around the corner once that gets rolling.
Yeah, they gotta get bro off his desk somehow.
Yeah,
I feel like
get him
the
off of there.
I feel what is it
Yeah.
like when Oda talks about characters as if they have their own will, like Luffy's like or like
Yeah.
how do I stop him or whatever. It's like how do I get Dragon off this desk?
Yeah, man. Like you just do you fight. That's on you. Dragon doesn't want to be at that desk. I'm sure. Like Dragon and Akaido, they're overworked with paperwork right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Uh
Do you have any final thoughts you want to get off? That was a fun talking point because like that is something I really look forward. Like the Revolutionary Army group, I really look forward to in the grand scheme of things, and it's also one of the reasons, like controversial or not, that I think that Dragon will possibly be end up being the strongest protagonist character in the final war outside of
he's the
Luffy.
main character's father. He's the main
Yeah,
character's father. Like not just in terms of like main character, but like author author bias as well.
yeah,
Like being yeah,
yeah.
there's that
That's true.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I feel like he set up, but the only thing I got to get off my chest, not like a chapter
Hmm.
prediction, just a long term thing.
Okay.
Uh I feel like Stelly's gonna snitch on Sabo. I feel like there's gotta be something there.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a little bit of something with him trying to network, climb
Yeah.
socially in
Yeah.
the world.
Definitely.
Uh, them needing information on Sabo,
Oh, that could be
Goa.
good. Yeah, like maybe threaten Goa Kingdom or something, or like threaten Dadan or something like that. Who knows? That could be good. That's a really good point. That's a really really good point. Yeah, I did not think about that,
Stelly,
man.
Stelly snitches on Sabo,
Yeah.
SSS or whatever.
SSS Telly
That,
Snitch. That's funny, man. No, that's a good point. That could easily happen for sure. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, thanks for coming through, man. That was fun. That was fun talking about that. It was a good. Got me thinking about the revolutionaries a little bit, and about Stelly a little bit. So thanks. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, man. Hope you had a good time, and definitely shout to the chat for Monte. Do you have anything you want to shout out, like any social media or YouTube or anything like that?
Nah. Oh wait. What is it? I don't got shit to do with it, but Rurubu One Piece, that one book that has like all the architecture and like geography from One Piece. That shit is really cool. But
Oh,
that's it.
I don't know what that is. Okay. All right. What is it?
Yeah. It's like Rurubu, like RUBU One Piece. It was like one of the anniversary celebrations from a couple of years ago,
Okay.
like
All right. I
Shueisha
might check
and other
that out
mag.
then. All right, but thanks a lot for coming through, man. Seriously, and thank you for the support. And yeah, it was a fun talking point. Thanks for coming through.
Yeah.
All right, and I
Take
will
care.
talk to you later. Thanks, man. Have a great day.
You too.
All right, everybody. Shouts in the chat from Monte. Brought up some good stuff. Meeting recap. Yeah, everybody shouts in the chat for Monte. W's in the chat for Monte. Tom says Monte has a YouTuber voice. Yeah, that's why for a second I thought that he might be a YouTuber too at the end. Um, but yeah, definitely shouts to him because he had some good talking points for sure. Where were we at? Angel Reeds, thanks for the 2. What if it isn't hockey and enchanted weapons? Oh, like, because that's actually an interesting. I'll put you down. I don't know if that's a prediction, but I'll put that down just because that's an interesting idea. Just because some people believe that Loki's hammer might be an enchanted weapon. So, maybe that's along those lines as well. I don't know if I would love that because then that would mean that, like, the only way to. Gaban's only able to damage the God's Knights due to something that's very specific to him, and it doesn't really open a pathway to other characters like the Strats learning how to damage the God's Knights and the Gorsei, but it's an interesting possibility based on the hammer. Gaban, I know this is not a prediction, but I'm just going to put it down in case. Gaban cut Sommers thanks to enchanted axes. Kid Smitty 94, thanks for the 2, man. Chopper panel, page 6 and 7, 6/7 before Sommers gets clutched. Ooh, okay, let's see. Hold on, I didn't even count the pages. Just started going. All right. Ooh, shit. Chopper goes sneak. Shit, where is Chopper right now? I think I lost track of things. So Chopper is there. He's like sneak. Interesting. Yeah, you might be onto something there. Let's see if Chopper's got something to do next chapter. Dreams, thanks for the 5. Hey, Morge, hope you're well. I am. My prediction is a small flashback from Gaban where he and Roger's crew learn to damage regeneration abilities. I like that. It might be tied to the God Valley thing, but you know what? We can allow a little bit of overlap. Back where Roger's crew learn to damage regen abilities. So you're saying learn to damage. Okay, so if it's just a flashback, so you're going for something a bit more specific because we already had one that covered God Valley, I believe. Yeah, so Dick So Small, I Piss on My Balls covered something like that. So yours is a bit more specific. So I'm going to be a little picky based on the prediction winner for that just because we can't have too many overlap winners. Hope that's understandable. Oh, shoot. Forgot to do bullet points here. There we go. Nice and organized now. Dick So Small, I Piss on My Balls. Thanks for the 5, man. The Rania scene is effective because a child rationalizing her own sacrifice appeals to our natural human instinct to protect children. I mean, I guess, but then, like, it would also be a lot more effective if we were introduced to the child slightly earlier. Like, that's all I'm saying. Like, you could say that about literally any situation. Like, you could throw any fucking child situation or, like, a woman in distress or something like that, or anything that appeals to our natural human instincts or something, and be like, see, you don't need any sort of, like, prior characterization. You can just jump to it. I agree that it's effective at creating empathy for the situation, right? Like, oh no, a kid's gonna die if not for this or that. But I'm saying the scene would be a lot more impactful in terms of like uh, a display of character if I actually knew the character beforehand. So that's two separate things. I'm not saying it's not sad that they're threatening to kill a child prior to, or like a child as an ultimatum between burning the library and then the child is rationalizing her own death or whatever. That's sad. I'm just saying that it would be a lot more effective if we also knew the child a little bit prior to that, you know? Nundu V, thanks for the two. Post Water 7 and Lobby, Oda said he might not top it. Do I think he has? He said that he might not ever top writing such a beautiful story. I would agree that there's something like in terms of beautiful story, I think that as a full story arc, I would say no. Because like the other storyline I look at as One Piece's best is the Marineford storyline, and that's a really profoundly tragic story. I think when Oda's talking about Water 7 Enies Lobby being like a really beautiful story, I think of Water 7 Enies Lobby from everything Oda did with that arc is like just the peak of One Piece's like beautiful in the sense it was the peak of One Piece's like really uplifting feel good storytelling. Like something like it really was a beautiful story of like this outcast who finally found a home with all these friends, like with all these friends who accepted her, even in the face of the entire world, right? There's something like there's a difference between writing a really dark, tragic story like Marineford versus just the bright, feel-good beauty of the story of Water 7 Enies Lobby. I don't think Oda has topped that in a single individual storyline, and I think it's very difficult for him to have done that. I think he can, but I think the simple key to why Water 7 Enies Lobby was so profoundly beautiful in that manner is because it capitalized on the characters that we had been reading about for 400 chapters. Like, it capitalized on the main characters of the story and was an intensely Straw Hat-centric storyline. So when you take a story like One Piece that tends to just introduce new side characters and tell the story through them, with the Straw Hats being like companion pieces, when you instead tell a story that's so intensely focused on like the collapse of this friend group, like the sense of insecurity of like Usopp and everything like that, the sense of burden and responsibility of Luffy as the captain finally having to come into play, the question of like who are we as a group, like what does it mean to be the Straw Hat Pirates when like Robin's leaving, the ship is falling apart, when the whole world basically becomes their enemy and they only have like each other, and the lengths that they go to preserve their dynamic and bring back somebody who felt like she was an outcast and didn't belong, who her whole life had been preyed upon by the entire world, and like they're like, no, this is who we are, we welcome you, and we're gonna keep you, like we're gonna literally go to the ends of the earth to save you. And then everything that comes with it is just genuinely perfect. Like the way the Straw Hats all win their fights, the way Luffy defeats Lucci, and the boat, like their home literally coming to life through the love that they'd poured into it, and doing like one final voyage to bring them back safe. Like everything from start to finish is genuinely like, I don't think Oda's ever done anything like close to that beautiful. Actually, the more that I think about it, it's actually making me tear up thinking about Water 7 Enies Lobby. Marineford can be just as good, but in a different direction. I think like you have individual stints. Like I think Kuma's backstory, you could argue, is the most beautiful backstory in One Piece, but I wouldn't say Egghead as a whole arc reaches Water 7 Enies Lobby. So yeah, there's a lot going on there. I think Oda can do it though with the final war, because again, that's the storyline that I expect to be the most Straw Hat focused as well, even though it's going to cover a lot of other things. And that's really where you can get these sort of really beautiful character-focused storylines, when you work with the characters that you've been writing for 400 chapters and like treat them as the centerpiece and really try and get the most powerful, dramatic storytelling out of them, because they're just the ones that we're the most attached to, that there's the most setup for, that the dynamic matters the most. It just means the most, right? Yeah, continuing on. JP, thanks for the 20, man. Prime Rayleigh and Gaban being Yonko level and Zoro and Sanji reaching there always sounded unbalanced at first, but it makes sense when you realize Luffy and Roger's crews were always meant to scale to Rock's type crew. Yeah, like, I think that's the crazy thing that people, I did a whole video breaking that down, like, why the Pirate King always has two wings. I think, like, when people got caught up in, like, people got caught up on the idea of, like, Yonko crews having the first mate, second mate, first commander, second commander, third commander system, and it's like, that makes no fucking sense to hold Zoro and Sanji to those limits, because Zoro and Sanji already clearly passed those bars in the fucking Wano arc, which is like hundreds of probably like 200, 300, like actually more than 300 to 400 chapters before the end of the story, right? So that was always kind of silly. It's like, why they're just on such a different trajectory than like a Marco or a King or a Katakuri, or like a Queen or a Smoothie or a Jozo or whatever. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, there we go. All right. JP, we covered that. But yeah, I think it's just silly to think about it in those terms, because like Roger, the way I talked about it is like Rox's crew was almost too much. The Rox's subordinates were too close to him in strength. Like Rox's subordinates were all pretty much fucking Yonko type characters or Yonko potential characters, and so the crew had no order, right? Roger's crew was kind of the peak of like maintaining still a crew dynamic with like Roger being the captain and being in charge, but having subordinates who are very, very close to him, or at least much closer to him in strength than would be traditional, right? And then you've got the other Yonko crews where there's much bigger gaps, which is like Whitebeard pirates, Big Mom pirates, Beast pirates, Red-haired pirates. And the trend that I talked about that I thought was very interesting was that the more structured the crew, like the more that it functions like a ironclad, like hierarchical, fuck, I don't think I've ever used that word, just maybe I'm forgetting. Hierarchy-based military structure, the bigger the gap between the leader and the subordinates. So for example, Kaido, Big Mom, Whitebeard's crews, they all have, I think, fairly big gaps between their captain and then first mate, second mate, third mate, right? Like first commander, second commander, third commander, right? Because it's reflected in the fact that those crews are very, very military structured, clear divisions, officer ranks, things like that, right? That positions the leader, the captain, as kind of a general way above the others. But then you look at Shanks's crew. Shanks's crew is a more familial type crew, where they are like they go around kind of as like a group of friends. We saw their dynamic in chapter 1. They're more like a group of friends and everything like that. But they still refer to Shanks as their boss. They still treat him with respect as captain, stuff like that. I'm saying stuff like that a lot, but there's still like a air of decorum and sort of an official acknowledgement of their leader, a sort of hierarchy of command and everything like that. It just blends with their friend group dynamic a lot. And so you see a sort of correlation where Shanks and his commanders, it was stated in chapter 957 that Shanks's top officers are uniquely strong even for Yonko commanders. So like we can kind of see that as you drift away from the more structured hierarchies and ranks of Yonko crews and you get to a bit more familial dynamic, the gaps kind of shrink between the leader and the subordinates, because that makes sense. Like when the subordinates are closer in strength to the leader, there's probably a bit more of a egalitarian equality type feel, right? And we even saw Yasop push Shanks aside and be like, I'm going to take care of this, even though Shanks didn't order him to take down Bartolomeo's ship. But ultimately, Shanks is still the boss. He's in charge, right? Then you get to crews like Straw Hats and the Roger Pirates. In the few flashbacks that we've seen of the Roger Pirates, we've literally seen like Crocus straight up brawling and beating up Roger. The only other pirate captain that we see that shit happening to is like Luffy and his crew. Basically, with the Straw Hats and the Roger Pirates, and it's even talked about how like Roger's like, he was like a big kid or whatever. With the Straw Hats and the Roger Pirates, the captain is generally speaking the captain in name only, and like the whole crew is like a big gang of friends that all gets along and goofs around together, and they're just it's much more fluid. The captain takes charge in the life or death situations when it's time for battle and things are serious, and that's when Luffy and Roger step up and they're like, we're the captain, we're doing what we want. But outside of that, it's a much more fluid, egalitarian dynamic of how things flow. That's where you also see, again, the subordinates happen to be closer to strength to the captains. Like, it's a continuing upwards trend. And then finally, at the far end of the spectrum, you have the Rocks Pirates, where it's too far. Rocks has extremely strong subordinates, but they don't fucking respect him. If you go read that chapter from Kuma's flashback, they're all literally shitting on him as they exit the ship. They're like, that fucking idiot Rocks, blah, 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 blah. There's no respect there. There's no sort of loyalty or allegiance to Rocks. That's emphasized many times. So it's a spectrum where you don't want to go too far to the other end of the spectrum where it's like, you need some level of order. But if you're trying to impose a high level of order, you probably can't get subordinates that are that strong relative to you, because the only way to really corral subordinates that are and force them into a sort of like clear hierarchy and military discipline is if you're way above them in strength, like a Big Mom or a Kaido is, right? The stronger subordinates you get, the more leeway they're naturally going to have, and the more equal, like they're going to treat you more as equals, the more as that dynamic sort of shifts. So I really like that sort of consistency in terms of how Oda's written the crews. It's a really interesting, like, it's a soft thing, but it's a sort of idea that seems to be recurring in terms of like how leadership and structure for pirate crews needs to work. Like, if Luffy just wanted to order around his crewmates all the time and like they all had to like be super subservient to him, and like he has official ranks for them and like orders them what to do every time, he's not going to have Zoro. He's not going to have Sanji. They would never fucking join a ship like that. That just wouldn't happen. But at the same time, if he just let his crew run roughshod, whatever they want to do or whatever, then he might hit a problem like Rocks or something like that. Like, he might get a lot of crewmates that are comparable to him in strength or whatever, or almost as strong. And then at a certain point, he's not going to be able to command their authority at all or their respect. All right, anyway, Old Faithful said, Old Faithful, thanks for making Yodko to your member for 24 months, man. 2-year milestone. Much love for Greece. Thank you for the long time support, man. It is always good to see you or see your comments. Been loving the content for almost 5 years. Also, Wano analysis when? That's a great question, man. That's a great question. Soon. That's all I could say. I'm trying to do it. I'm still trying to do it. I want to be done with it. I've not had a window to do it in the last couple weeks, but you will get updates when there's updates. Justin Holland, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 31 months, man. Always good to hear from you, man, obviously. If hockey is willpower manifested, then it should make sense that emotions should be manifested too, which adds to willpower. What if hockey was a well-known and practiced art in the past, far in the past? I wouldn't be surprised if, like, during the Ancient Kingdom times or something like that, hockey was more common and more known. That would make sense, because it's kind of like, if you go to certain countries, like Amazon Lily, everyone knows hockey. The Mink tribe, everyone knows Electro, so certain fighting techniques and stuff can be common if they're just taught widely. In Wano, it sounds like, it's not like everyone knows Haki or Ryo, because actually Odin was trying to teach them that, the Scabbards that, and they didn't want to learn, so it's not necessarily common everywhere. But I wouldn't be surprised if in the past hockey was more well known, whereas now it's probably like the world government doesn't even want the average person to learn hockey, unless they join the Marines or something. That's why in the Marines, vice admirals and up know hockey, because it seems likely that it's part of the Marines training regimen past a certain point. Emotions should be manifested, which add to willpower. Yeah, I mean, that could be a thing as we see further in the story. Like, maybe as far as we've seen, like, emotions like anger and increased drive do seem to drive up hockey a little bit. But maybe the power of love, like people have been talking about with the Gaban, maybe that leads to something. Eagle Train, thanks for the 2. Hey, Morge, do you still think Shanks will be an Elbaf? I think it would be absolutely fucking bizarre if, considering Shanks is like, Shanks is kind of like, he's almost like this elephant in the room, but or he's an elephant shaped hole in the room. In that almost every fucking thing in Elbaf so far, every other chapter has been fucking Shanks related, but he is not there. First chapter in Elbaf, it's fucking Shanks destroying Kid, right? Next moment when we actually get to Elbaf or whatever, we're meeting Loki, who's telling Luffy about Shanks, and Luffy goes and does this whole, like, key quest and brings that back to unlock things for Loki for Shanks. Along the way on that quest, Luffy fucking runs into Scopper Gaban, who's talking about Shanks, and Scopper just met with Shanks, and Scopper wanted to check out what's going on with Luffy based on things that Shanks told him, right? While that's going on, right, we've also got Colin, who is another kid who is inspired by Shanks, and he seems to be one of the primary side characters of the story. And then what do you know? The primary villain of the arc shows up, and it's fucking Shanks' mysterious twin brother. And he shares a little bit of a backstory of Shanks going back to Marijoa as a child or whatever, and he leaves or whatever. Loki's still offering to tell Luffy some more information about Shanks or something like that, but he's still holding that over Luffy's head. I would say, and then the arc is supposed to center around Usopp, whose father is also on Shanks' crew. I would say that it would be fucking bizarre if they're talking about Shanks every other fucking chapter. Like, almost everything that Luffy has done in this arc so far has been because of Shanks, basically. His entire journey so far since leaving Legoland has been like him chasing Shanks again, essentially, right? The villain of the arc is evil Shanks. Like, there is so much Shanks-centric. The arc fucking began with us meeting Shanks, right? And Shanks having a big scene. So with all of that Shanks-centric storytelling, it would be really, really bizarre if he is just straight up not in this arc at all. I mean, we're told that there's even a fucking flashback that we're waiting to see of Shanks kicking Loki's ass or something like that. We still need to find that out. So I'm not going to put it past Oda because he's just the way Oda is, to not have Shanks actually show up in the arc. I think that's totally possible, but I think it's unlikely. I think that it's very likely that Shanks will be prominent over the course of this storyline, and this is a storyline where we'll likely learn more about him and his character, his past. That's literally been teased this arc, like Shanks' backstory with him going to Marijoa and everything like that, Shanks' encounter with Loki, what was Shanks doing with the Gomu Gomu no Mi. So much of that I think we will uncover. That might not be with Shanks at the island itself. Maybe we're cutting away to Shanks and some things that he's doing. But I do think by the end of the storyline, we will have the Shanks-Luffy reunion. So he may not be a prominent player at the physical island of Elbaf outside of flashbacks, but I do think we will get a lot more context on the character and storytelling for the character, maybe through cutaways, and I do think he will make an appearance by the end of the arc at least. Tom, thanks for the 5 men. Stream housekeeping. Ask your friends how to react to episodes. Please release poster race puzzle. Add Rania to the Elbaf character ranking list. Okay, so I did ask Jay recently. How to react to episodes. Jay told me that he just takes the hit in terms of copyright stuff. So that's just basically it. I'm not like that. I want the stream. I don't want to do that. I have other people I can ask though, so I'll make that a little to do to also ask about that. Please release poster race puzzle. Oh fuck, that's a good point. We kind of gave up on that because nobody could solve it. Add Rania to the Elbaf character ranking list. That's a great point. Let's add Rania. Okay. Where's the Elbaf character rankings? Yeah. Let's do some Elbaf character. Let's quickly do that real quick. Best characters in Elbaf so far. Here. I'm gonna bump Scopper up. I'm gonna bump Sommers up. part of this is unfortunately just like recency bias. Because I think I still am more interested in Gunko overall, but Sommers is just fun. Sommers is fun. Anything else I want to treat? Colin, I'm going to move up. Shamrock hasn't done shit, so I'm just like, I don't think he deserves to be here at this point. Shamrock. Jarl, my man Jarl is moving up. Jarl will put here. I'm liking Jarl quite a bit. I like Roto more than Biblo. Oh, Biblo, I forgot. We only ranked Biblo as a special occasion that one for that one stream as an exception. Walrus principal guy. Who's Mato? Is Mato the barkeep? Stanson, Goldberg. Goldberg shared that. Did Goldberg share that shit about his shield? Here, we'll move him up. Okay. And then we gotta add Rania. Put Rania like here. There we go. All right. Thanks for bringing that up. Anyone else we gotta add? I think we're good. All right. Back to the chapter things. Oh, shit. Ah, fuck. Gotta relabel this. I just took the 1146 predictions and didn't change the name. All right, there we go. So 1146 predictions are basically lost forever, unfortunately. All right. Oscar Cruz, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 28 months. I'm sorry. Thanks for the long time support, man. Holy shit. Started Dark Souls 1 a few weeks ago, and I don't know where to go. Just beat the Capra Demon, though. Did you look at any guides when you went through the game? I genuinely think that if you try to get through Dark Souls without ever looking at a guide, I genuinely don't know how you would find your way to completing the game. I'm surprised it's after Capra Demon, though, because I got lost after Bell Gargoyles. I didn't realize that you needed the basement key. Or, like, I didn't realize where the basement, like, or it's the lower key, like, take you to lower or something, or I forget. Like, it's not intuitive, in my opinion, in that it requires you to, after you beat the Bell Gargoyles, there's nowhere clear to go. You have to remember that way back there was a locked door that you couldn't go down. And then you have to, maybe reading the item descriptions, but, like, if you're not familiar with Dark Souls, you're not used to reading item descriptions right then. So I genuinely think that, like, beating Dark Souls, just no guide whatsoever. Because people ask, what's the hardest Souls game? I think that if your question is, what's the hardest Souls game to beat without any sort of, like, outside information, I still think it's Dark Souls 1. Because at that point, it's not about the difficulty of the enemies. It's just that game doesn't give you information. So if you're just lost as to what to do at a certain point, there's no sort of holding hand. It just feels so you just feel like so abandoned, if that makes, like, you really feel, it feels immersive because you just feel like there's no sort of video game type hand holding or something, but you're just like, you're in this world and you're like, I don't know where to go next. I remember after Capra Demon, I was convinced that the next thing was, that's the thing, I felt like it wasn't intuitive, because the thing that stands out after Bell Gargoyles for me was like, okay, well, the other area that I really began to open up was that Darkroot Garden area. So let me go do that. That must be what's next. So then I go to Darkroot Garden, and you're trying over there, and I kill, like, the butterfly and stuff like that, but it just becomes clear after a point that maybe this is too early. You hit the Valley of the Drakes, and you begin to think that, like, okay, maybe I'm supposed to go here because it's said to go lower. But all along, the answer turned out to be, like, the key that takes you to the fucking... that takes you to the lower levels, and that takes you to the Capra Demon or whatever. And that just felt very unintuitive to me, because it's like the game opens up so many other areas much more clearly that you would forget that there was a locked door that fit the key that you happen to get from the Bell Gargoyles, especially if you don't notice you got that key from the Bell Gargoyles. So that's like a little minor complaint of mine. There are other points in that game that I think if you don't I could easily see a lot of people just not realizing where to go next, because the game really doesn't give you a lot of indicators. It does after the halfway point of Anor Londo, but I really think that, like, if you just try and play Dark Souls 1 absolutely blind, you will just run into difficulties of what do I do next at certain points. In terms of combat, the only part in Dark Souls 1 that I think I would have needed to look up a guide that I remember. It was definitely Beta Chaos. Beta Chaos was the only time I actually had to. I don't think I would have beaten Beta Chaos if I didn't look up how to do it. But yeah, I don't think there's any shame in looking things up for those Souls games if you are stuck. I think that for bosses and combat, I think my general rule when playing those games is basically like, if it's something like boss related or combat related, always try and figure it out yourself, because that's, for me, a lot of the fun, with exceptions like Beta Chaos or whatever. But I think Beta Chaos is the only thing I can really recall at all in a Dark Souls game me having to look up how to beat. Beta Chaos, I count that as an exception. So I always try and look all that stuff up myself. But then, if you're really genuinely lost, so there's times that I'm truly lost as to what to do next. And as I played more Souls games, that would happen less frequently. Maybe because I got better at them, or maybe it was just because the games got more hand-holdy in terms of direction as it went on. I think that might be a combination of both. But in Dark Souls 1, I think it is truly the easiest to get lost as to what to do next. So if you're really genuinely fucking confounded as to where to go next, I think it is okay to consult a guide to try and figure out, like, what is the next place for you to be or try to get to or something. Some people might say that's wrong, just play it fully blind. I don't know. The other thing I looked up in terms of Dark Souls and Dark Souls 3 that I will never fucking regret, same with Bloodborne, is, like, how does the leveling system work? I will never regret that. I will never apologize for looking up, like, how does the leveling system work? What does it make sense for me to put my points into? I don't care. I'm just going to look that up. Because it's just, like, literally, I was fucking stuck at the Bell Gargoyles. Because Sekiro was my first Souls game. And that had no sort of leveling system. You're just fucking playing. When I started playing Dark Souls, I remember the Bell Gargoyles. It frustrated the fuck out of me. Because, like, I had gone and, like, I have all these weapons. I have, like, 3 weapons. And so, like, I upgraded each of them once because I assumed that the game wanted you to have a variety of weapons. So I'm trying to kill the Bell Gargoyles with, like, +2 or, like, plus, like, very minimally upgraded weapons, like +1 weapons or something like that. And none of them are doing any damage. And then I look up online that it's smart to upgrade more. Anyway, enough about that. Blazing Blue, thanks for the 10. Hey Morge, hope you're doing well. Looking in my prediction that next chapter's cliffhanger will be Loki telling Luffy about Shanks' past. Start a small flashback / lore dump on how Loki got changed up. Oh, I don't know if we're gonna that maybe. Let's see. Next, I don't know if we're gonna. Yeah, maybe we cut back to that, the Loki situation. Next chapter, okay. Chapter cliffhanger will be Loki telling Luffy about Shanks' past. Small flashback / lore dump on how Loki got chained up. Blazing Blue. I think that's possible. Drink water. Thank you for the 20. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, man. Hey, Morge. I predict that hockey can be left in your opponent after you attack them. When Scopper teaches Luffy, I believe we'll get a flashback of Marguerite, where she said she infused the arrow tip with hockey. Oh, I didn't think about that. That could help a lot with projectiles. I didn't think about that at all. That could really help with projectiles. I never thought about that potential usage. Because we've never seen how characters use bullets in hockey. Unfortunately, Drinkwater, I think that you need to do a different prediction because we actually already have that. I'll put it down. I think it's all circling the same thing. So my video tomorrow is going to cover a lot of what you just said. Dillian Breaks Down is actually very similar. But you know what? I'll put yours down as well. Maybe because everyone's phrasing it a little different. Everyone's phrasing it a little different. All right. Hockey can be left in your opponent after you attack them. Drink water. I'll leave it at that. I'll say bonus points, not bonus points, but I'll also add the, I don't think the Marguerite thing would be revealed next chapter. Example, Marguerite arrow tip hockey. But that is a really good point that I didn't even think about when I made my video. That projectile weapons are a good example of that. The Boy Who Cried Super Saiyan. Nice name. How do you think, and I think I commented that before, how do you think Dragon manages to stay strong after sitting at his desk for 20 years? And also, how do you think Luffy would react to Garp being killed? So I think the Dragon hasn't been sitting at his desk for 20 years. I imagine he's been very active for a while. And he got stronger in his younger years. And then since then, he's been waiting to gather his forces. So, for example, if we go back to the Luffy A Sabo flashback, we did see Dragon was actively there at Goa Kingdom and freeing people and shit then, right? Like he seemed to have done a wind blast or whatever to free people as well. So, yeah, I think that Dragon was capable in his, or he has already spent like X number of years getting strong and being in the action. And then since then, he reached the point where he's like, okay, now I'm going to be chilling at my desk or whatever. How do I think Luffy would react to Garp being killed? I think Luffy would be really, really heavily affected by Garp being killed. I don't think it would be to the same degree as Ace. I think Luffy loves Garp, but not quite to... Like, I think he had a really much softer connection with Ace, whereas like Garp has always been like the borderline abusive father figure. And Garp has been on and off in Luffy's life, right? Like Luffy spent more time with Ace than he ever did with Garp by a good margin, because like they grew up at that island together for 10 years, and Garp would show up once in a while, right? Like Luffy probably has this even stronger connection to Dadan than Garp, but I think Luffy loves Garp. I think would be very affected if Garp died. It's not about time spent, because it's like Luffy would be really affected if one of the Straw Hats died, and he's only been with them for like maybe 6 months max or something. But I think Luffy would be really affected. I don't think it would break him the way it would with Ace, because Garp is like, the older grandpa figure or something like that. I think there's just a little bit of a difference in terms of like when your much older figure passes away. I think Luffy will have to grapple with Shanks dying at some point in the story, and I think that could give us some insight into how he would also react to Garp dying. I think that might be similar. Drink water. Thanks for the 10. The Haki infused that's active outside of the body while no longer being in contact with the Haki user. It's a pretty advanced technique. This goes with other Haki projectiles like bullets too. Drink water. Just watch tomorrow's video, man. Just watch tomorrow's video. I think you will really, really enjoy tomorrow's video and a lot of the things that breaks down. That is very, very much on track with what I believe we're seeing here. Bane, thanks for the 5. Hi, Morge. Years ago, you made a video on why Luffy will die and a story. Do you still believe that, considering all the developments in the story? I do still believe it's very possible Luffy will die at the end of the story. I don't think it will happen at like an execution stand like I thought originally. I do think that Luffy dying at the end of the story makes a lot of sense, because I just think that at the end of the story, the world will be drastically different. I think Luffy will have essentially completed his adventure and done everything he wants to do. And the way Oda wrote Luffy is as a character that's like almost a concept more than a person. And like he's just the embodiment of living to chase a dream, to achieve freedom, to accomplish something, and not caring about anything that comes afterwards, and being happy having done what you set out to do. It's almost hard to imagine Luffy like in a new world that is all peace and like everyone's been saved and the dawn has been brought. Like, what is Luffy in that world later on? Like he's a type of character that would always need to be on adventure or something. So I feel like Luffy having like almost like a messiah type figure, having done what he needed to do or whatever, at the end of it all, passing on for whatever reason. I think him going out with a smile on his face, I think all of those things would make a lot of sense. But and I think there's a lot of foreshadowing. Like he's even made statements like, I'm the one who's going to get to decide where I die. There's a lot of statements that make me feel like there could be a death for Luffy at the end of the day. But I'm not going to I'm no longer. I used to believe that it might happen at Loketown, down at beginning and end, but now I think that whether or not Loketown even exists as an island at the end feels very unlikely. Nundu V, thanks for the 2. Do fights even matter anymore in One Piece? I don't care post Wano. I think fights matter a lot. I think we're in it at this point, not just for fights, but like I think this is what we're really looking forward to at this point in time, right? Like the big final war. Like we're looking forward. This is what we've been building to and building to. Like this is what we're really waiting on. The big final war to end all wars, where we get all the biggest, craziest fights and all the matchups that we've been wanting to see. Like we've wanted to see Mihawk fight. We wanted to see Shanks fight. We want to see Dragon fight. We want to see a Kainu fight. Aokiji. All of these characters, the Gorosei, Imu, all these characters that we really, really want to see go all out. This is what we've been waiting on. Bane, thanks for the 2, man. Elbaf feels like it's going to be God Valley 2.0 in my opinion. Like fighting with the God's Knights and stuff involved. I don't know. It's really hard for me to tell how big the Elbaf conflict is set to become. Because, I mean, God Valley 1.0 was the craziest pirate war ever, right? Like, it wasn't just the God's Knights. They were just a piece of that. You had all the Rocks Pirates and the Roger Pirates and, like, the best Marines, like Garp and everything. I don't know if Elbaf can reach that scale, personally. I don't know. I think it could become pretty big, though, with, like, the idea of pirates versus the God's Knights. That could become pretty big. And I think that Elbaf will transition into the final war in some way. I don't know if it's going to be a trigger for the final war or if we're cutting from the end of Elbaf to the outside world and the final war is really broken out. Akash, thanks, man. Thanks for the 5. Adding to Justin Holland's membership message, Luffy commented that Kaido's haki did get stronger in his drunken emotional state, chapter 1037. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm blocking the text. Oh, shit. My bad. Thank you. Let me move myself up. 1 second. Yeah, and we also know that, like Roger, he would become most dangerous when he was, like, enraged or whatever. Right? So presumably when he's angry that his crew is being attacked is what Garp seemed to imply. So I do believe that willpower can increase with what we've seen to be like anger and stuff like that. And I feel like the drunken Kaido seemed to trigger a lot of his anger. Like if we look at, I feel like 1041. Where's that? Now you've really gone and done it. Linlin lost the fight. That's when his haki really explodes and starts kind of overwhelming Luffy. So that's something interesting. I do think it's really, like, your strength of will can, like, rise as you're getting angrier. I think that's a thing that we'll probably see more of in haki as we go. Mavahed Sadegi, thanks for the 2. Prediction, Somers will regenerate. That's a bold prediction. That's interesting. Somers will, yeah. I could see that happening because have we all just accepted that Somers is just going to be a one-armed character from here on out? That's another Shanks reference, by the way. Another Shanks reference in Elbaf. Somers, because maybe it's a temporary effect of not being able to regenerate, but then after a little bit it happens. Who knows? Somers will regenerate. Tom, thanks for the 5-man prediction. Colin tries to make a point to not cry in front of his dad. Thank you for the content as always. Thank you, man. Thanks for the support, man. As always. Especially needed now with my whole girlfriend/ex thing. I am sorry about that, man. I will try to keep things entertaining for you and try to keep your mind off of it as much as possible. But you will find your person, man. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Whatever happened was for the best. I'm saying generic things here, but it is also true. That's why people say them. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 150 real quick. Colin tries not to cry in front of his dad. I low-key still think Colin could be captured. I think it could happen. Oh, no. Sorry, not Akash. Tom. Sorry. Sorry, I just saw you at the same time. Akash, thanks for the 2. Katakuri put color farments on his disconnected donut arms. That's another good point. That one's weird because it's just like and Doflamingo, I think, has done it on strings as well. So maybe if it's like, were they all doing that? Now it gets to a tricky territory because Doflamingo did that with his strings. Katakuri did that with his shit. Devil fruits might be weird because like they're in some way an extension. Like they're coming from your. No, they're not coming out of his body, are they? I don't know if Oda's gonna go into that as much, or if he just viewed those as like, just I don't know if he thought that much about those. Bullets and projectiles is tricky because like those are not part, like they're not produced by you, whereas the mochi arms, the strings, those are produced by Doflamingo and Katakuri. So that might be a little bit different. But bullets and arrowheads, those are very much not your own ability. They're just like separate objects, independent of you. And so then infusing them with haki, but allowing that haki to stay even as they're fired away, that's an interesting idea. So that might be different. Bane, thanks for the 2. Prediction: Shamrock returns and cuts down Gaban. That would be a wild prediction if that came true. Shamrock returns and cuts down Gaban. That would be insane. I figured Shamrock is gone at this point, but if he's still around, just waiting to see how the other God's Knights do, that would be really, really fucking cool. I think I can make this bigger for the moment. Yeah, I just want to see some Shamrock action, because right now I don't know what to think of him as a character. Like, it's exciting as a concept, but he didn't do or say anything that's particularly interesting. So I'm waiting for his debut. That's one of the biggest things. Like, One Piece characters, I've talked about this in the past. Oda's really good at writing, like, really cool debut scenes that give you a clear, vivid memory of the character, and they tend to do something that's really cool, or they're presented in a really cool way. Shamrock, that hasn't really happened. So, I don't know. We'll see. To be fair, I think his battle debut could be a little bit different. Kind of like the Gorosei had their first debut as just like these random 5 guys sitting around. And then after that, they had their battle debut much later. Emu was Lily's raid suit? That'd be funny. Gunko is a representation of Lily, and Luffy is Lily's reincarnation. Oh, I don't know about that one. King J, more to the theory of Shanks intentionally losing his hand to get rid of the Abyss tattoo is dead because Shanks couldn't regenerate from the scar he got from Blackbeard even before losing his hand. Yeah, I never really bought that because it's not a real theory because it's just disproven by the editors. I think it was stated straight up that like Shanks only lost his hand in chapter 1 because Oda was told by his editors to make Shanks lose his hand to make it more dramatic or something like that. The jacket fruit was created by Eva's will to be worn by Lily again. Okay, I am probably going to call stream pretty soon just for food's sake because I'm a little bit hungry. Let me see if I got any other questions waiting. Big Mom is in Heaven Realm? Climbing the tree like Jack and the Beanstalk. To be fair, we already really had that in Skypiea. Skypiea, fucking similar ass setup with like a giant beanstalk going all the way up, and now they got a giant tree in the middle of everything. Ikioi no Rafa, thanks for the 10. Maybe advanced Conqueror's Haki Luffy uses is like the Ryo that goes outside the body, while this advanced Conqueror's Haki is like the Ryo that penetrates the body. The thing is that's possible because like he's talking about advanced level 1 of Ryo, or level 1 of Ryo, which is just the shield around you, and then level 2 is the penetration part. But the thing is that like if we go to Luffy's explanation of what he's experiencing, then one, I think that adds too many layers of like technicalities to Haki that Oda never displays differently or provides any sort of distinction for. I think it's dumb that Oda even made 2 levels of armament when it almost never even fucking matters which one is being used. Um, but let's see. The hockey wield, yeah. So look at this. The hockey wield penetrates and destroys the enemy from the inside, right? Um, you can infuse things with Supreme King Hockey too. So my interpretation of this scene is basically Luffy is realizing that the same things that he learned to do with armament, which is penetrating, trading, and destroying from the inside, which is also what is being visually shown here. He's just realizing that he can do that with Conquerors as well. So it's basically just doing what he was already doing, but with Conquerors Hockey. So I don't think that's the answer, because I think right away it's implied that like he is now what do you call, like from this moment on he is now using Conquerors Hockey the same way he was previously learned to use Armament Hockey, which is letting it flow out and destroy the opponent from the inside. Drink water. Thanks for the 5-man. Prediction: Gunko drops Rania and fights Gaban, saving Sommers. Okay, this is elaborate. Robin jumps down to save Rania and uses her wings to fly back up. I could definitely see that happening. I hope next chapter is a solid action chapter with several characters getting little moments. Gunko drops Rania and fights Gaban, saving Sommers. Robin flies down to save Rania. Yeah, I could definitely imagine that. Oh, that's an interesting comment I've never seen before. Ben178 says, Morge, Luffy's new power will be soul damage. I could see that being a thing, because soul is a thing that has been talked about in One Piece a lot, and like maybe this requires damaging the soul to some degree. Like Brook even fucking with Big Mom's homies' souls and stuff, like that's a thing. And Brook seems to be getting a little bit of highlight and emphasis right now with the Gunko stuff. So yeah, maybe there's something there. Luffy breaks plates. Sidri breaks plates. Yeah, parallels right there. Yeah, that'd be interesting. All right, guys. I'm probably gonna call stream here for. I'll give it a few more minutes just to see, but probably just about ready to call stream just because Mahito Jujutsu Kaisen asked this discussion. I am pretty hungry. Brooke enters the chat. God Valley flashback. Yeah, we got a few of those predictions in. Artospian says, would like it to be something else instead of rehash of Rio. I think it is going to be. Just watch for tomorrow's video. I think that's a pretty comprehensive breakdown of a lot of the... I think there's a lot of clues that suggest that it is going to be a type of a permanent hockey effect. Like a lot of things Oda's been writing so far in the post-time skip. When do I think I'll get into Kagurabachi? I don't know, cause I'm in a state. Sometimes I hit a state of like media limbo where I'm not trying to get into something new, because I don't know. I just don't feel the urge. Oh, you know why? It's because of the fucking NBA playoffs. I think usually I get invested in one thing at a time, and then that becomes my main focus that I'm into for a bit. That's also partly why I haven't picked up like a video game in a long time. Usually I'm invested in about one thing at a time. And yeah, recently it's been NBA stuff. So before it was solo leveling, then it shifted to NBA playoffs. And that actually explains why like the last couple days I felt a sort of void where I'm not interested in watching, like not last couple days. So like all of Sunday evening. So after the Nuggets lost, I was disappointed after the Lakers lost, but then I still had hope because of the Nuggets and the Warriors. And now, after yesterday, where the Nuggets are now 2-2, very possibly not going to make it through the series because Jokic is playing so fucking bad. Like, insanely. I didn't know he was capable of playing this bad. But Jokic is playing abysmal, and Steph's not even playing. Now I just don't even... Like, I think after the Nuggets lost that game yesterday, now I just felt like, man, I don't even want to watch anything NBA related, anything NBA playoff related. So I had a void in terms of content that I like. Yesterday evening, I was just bored because I was like, do I watch? Normally, I'd be watching some NBA playoff breakdowns or the game or something. But instead, you know what I watched yesterday? I watched several videos. You know what? I'm at my most, um, when I'm uninvolved in sort of like any sort of like particular interest or hobby at that point in time. That's when I'm watching lots of random YouTube videos of things. Usually, if I'm watching YouTube stuff, it'll be focused around the thing that I'm interested in at that point in time, like be that an anime or be that NBA stuff or be that like a video game. Like if I'm playing Bloodborne, I'm probably watching a lot of FromSoft content or something. But when I've got nothing, that's when I'm watching random ass YouTube videos about things that I'm not even actually interested in, like how, like yesterday I was watching a series of videos like about how like European forts were different from like Chinese forts or something. That's why it made it fucking difficult for like the Chinese to do damage to like European. Was it the Chinese? Like it was just differences in like how yeah, it was something like that. Like how the one attempt of like Chinese to lay siege warfare to some European inspired forts didn't work. Then I was watching some videos on like what it was like living as a peasant in the medieval era, and then what it was like living in the court of Versailles. A lot of random ass shit. Yeah, I was just watching random videos yesterday, and that pissed me off because it made me feel like I'm wasting my time, but I had nothing to be invested in. So usually I prefer to be like into a series or like a game or like watching something like a sport or something like that. I think that's where I'm at right now. Yeah, and maybe I'll pick up if the NBA playoffs continue to be really bad. Then I'll probably pick up another series. Um, if they pick up and they get exciting, I'm probably not gonna get invested in another series because I got my hobby to be interested in. It's because you're old too, though. That's possible. Give us the Halloween Sinners IMAX rerun. Oh yeah, we saw Sinners in theaters. That was good. Morge falling victim to the YouTube algorithm. Yeah, and my least favorite thing is like there's videos that like get me to click, like videos that'll be on the homepage or whatever that I normally wouldn't click on, but when I've got no defining interest, I will end up clicking on them, and it'll be videos that are like lies, videos that are like one video that I accidentally clicked yesterday was like something about how this ancient shipwreck reveals the truth about why we exist or something. And so I clicked, and it was the most clickbaity shit ever. Like the information was good, but it basically explained something about like the way that lead deteriorates or some shit. Tells us a lot of information about how like cosmology works or like some aspects of particles or some shit like that. And it's like, this is fucking boring. This was a lie. More algo radicalization incoming. I watched a video yesterday about how that DK, what is it, Donkey Kong 64? What was that game? Yeah, Donkey Kong 64. What went wrong with that game or something, or why that game is viewed in a negative light? Apparently, it has too many collectibles. Muddy says, Morge, this isn't related to One Piece, but what's your top 5 favorite animes? That's a fun question. I think my favorite anime is Hunter x Hunter. Actually, yeah, my favorite animes probably off the top of my head are because One Piece is complicated because it is my favorite anime in a sense. I just don't count it automatically because it's like just feels like it falls into a different category for me. Because I really don't like the anime after a certain point, but at the same time, the anime is also somehow like my memories of that anime are like the most moved I've ever been by. Like the anime has such a powerful place in my heart. It's hard to explain that like completely dwarfs all other anime. But then at the same time, what the anime is today, I view well, Egghead's been good, but what the anime slowly became, I hate so much that it's hard for me to really place it. So I could say One Piece anime is my favorite, and at the same time say it doesn't make my top 5 based on what it slowly became. But if we leave One Piece out of it, Hunter x Hunter is probably my favorite anime overall. Loved Solo Leveling anime, like just so much fucking fun. probably like this Solo Leveling's anime is easily the most non-stop fun experience, like enjoyable episode to episode non-stop fun anime experience I've ever had. Just gets to it, and it just does. It's like episode after episode, um, um, and it doesn't like. Well, I don't need to gush over Solo Leveling again. Steins Gate. Steins Gate might be number 2. I think Hunter x Hunter, Steins Gate, Solo Leveling's in there. I think Full Metal's definitely in there. It's just the most complete, like anime and manga wise. Full Metal's just the most complete, tight vision of like a solid, long running shonen series that plays out from beginning to end, that hits everything well that it's supposed to hit. And then if we're not counting One Piece, would it be Cowboy? No, maybe it would be Thousand Year Blood War. Then Thousand Year Blood War would be in there. Ender Nami says DK64 is trash compared to the Donkey Kong Country games, but the But the Re-Aware trilogy and the Retro Studios duology MOG is to oblivion. Yeah, both the Rareware trilogy and the Retro Studios duology MOG it to oblivion. I don't know what to say about that. It's not a fun game to play, and especially not to 100% lol. Yeah, when it was explained in that video, like how many of those fucking multicolored rainbow bananas you need to acquire to complete the game, I was actually mind blown. Donkey Kong says, what? Me what? Pure Rising Action. Wait till you read Kagurabachi, Pure Rising Action. I will read Kagurabachi. Vinland Saga. Vinland Saga is a great anime. I only watched the first season of it, though. I think the second season, because I've read everything through the first several arcs, like the Baltic Sea War. So the second season I would have watched, but I just I consider the second season, the arc it covers, to be the best Vinland Saga arc. But at the same time, I know it's very, very slow, so it's not something I really feel like getting through the first several episodes of. Nestor Ramos, thanks for the 2. Can't wait for tomorrow's video. I think it's a really good video. I think it covers a lot. I gotta watch Gurren Lagann. I really want to watch Gurren Lagann. Red Agrid says, people say Juju Raid arc ripped off Chimera arc, but personally I think it was homage to that arc. Yeah, it's just an homage. Like, I don't think Solo Leveling tries to be anything it's not. You know? Like, it really doesn't try to be anything it's not. It's just, it's like, this was a cool concept, the whole Chimera. Like, it is a clear pull from, you know, the Chimera concept, which is like, this king is born, right? Like from the Ant Queen, and like this is how the way the whole colony works and everything like that. And we're trying to send in hunters to go exterminate it and everything. You know, like it's all very clearly inspired, but it's not trying to do any of the grand philosophical character writing, character-based storyline or whatever. It's just like the concept of this sort of ant colony producing like an unstoppable king or whatever. That's cool. Let's just work with that and just turn it into an action story. That's fine. Like, it's not as good as the Chimera arc. It's not trying to be. It's trying to just tell a really good action story, you know? Judah says, what's wrong with the current One Piece anime? I don't think anything's wrong with the current stuff. To be very clear, I've thoroughly enjoyed watching the last several episodes. You guys have seen my reactions. I've loved those episodes. What the One Piece anime became in general, right? So I'd say from post Marineford, like Fishman Island onward, it just became so fucking difficult to watch. I don't think that's debatable because it is currently being remastered and fixed in real time while the anime is still going on, because it needed to be made more watchable for newer audiences who are getting into One Piece. Wait, what's going on here? Thank God the Knicks won. All right. There we go. Oh my God, and Tatum played really good too. How did that happen? Shit, he tried his heart off. What the fuck happened here? Did the rest of the Celtics just let Tatum down? No. Did he get injured? I don't. Shit. No, man. No, this is so sad. I feel so fucking shitty for hating on this dude so much. I'm a piece of shit. Man. And he had 42. Damn. That is fucking tragic. I shit on him just because I'm a dumb sports fan, but like, he is a great player. Like, this is fucking tragic. Like, best player on the Celtics, best player on the best team. Um, I wanted to see him fail over the course of, like, through his own abilities over time. I would never, like, this is sad. He's in the prime of it. Like, he is a player that many argued had the potential to become best player in the world. And I was happy to argue on the other side that he did not have that potential and certainly was not in that conversation. This is not how I would want that to actually play out. Like, I would like to have actually seen what his full potential is like. This is fucking sad. I am, I feel like a piece of shit for every negative, and I've said a lot of negative things about Jason Tatum on this stream over and over. He's genuinely a dude that, fuck, like, that is so sad. He seems like a really good guy in general, just corny or whatever, but like a good guy in general, and who probably does get a lot of unfair hate on him for just not being the best player in the world when people kind of rate him as that. Some people do. And that's not ultimately really his fault. That's just, I don't know, that's sad. He never really got to show everything he could do or his full potential. Yeah, he's still young enough to come back, sure, and it is easier to come back from those injuries nowadays than ever before in history, but like, it's just still not, like, that's still very, very difficult. And it's just, he's losing the years of his prime, and he is a player that relies on athleticism. Like, he's losing clear years of his prime. Holy shit. That is really fucking sad. He's just the dude that's been they've been trying to push him as like the next face or whatever, but like, even if I think that that's a ridiculous argument, like, he had flashes of it. It sucks to not be able to see him try and like reach that on his own. Like, he doesn't even get a chance to try, and I think it's just fucked. He's not going to get the chance to try and prove all the haters such as myself wrong. I think that really, really is unfortunate. This is, yeah, he had 42. Yeah. I did want to see him fail, but by failing to perform in the way people expect him to perform, not through injury, especially when he was fucking, what was he? He had a great game, 16 for 28. God damn. Yeah. Seven threes, shooting nearly 50%. Fuck. All right. All right, guys. Yeah, I mean, like, how old is Paul George when that shit happened to him? Paul George, age, injury. So Paul George was a lot younger. All right, guys. Yeah, these playoffs are just not. I don't want to watch the Celtics like lose like this. This is just. This fucking sucks. Yeah, I don't know. Don't want to watch the Celtics lose like this. Um. Yeah, you know what? I might be reading Kagurabachi sooner than later. Which arc are you guys talking about? Dressrosa. The anime One Piece is most enjoyable on a binge. I think I'm really gonna enjoy binging the updated version of the anime. I think because I like the Fishman Island episodes. I'm probably gonna watch the Fishman Island fights on a binge one day, and just see how the anime did with them. Yeah. Apparently, Paul George's injury wasn't as bad as it could be because it was a clean break. Yeah, but it still like killed his prime. He came back still like you could argue he was better before or after, but he was definitely more athletic pre-injury. And then when he came back, like some people argue he hit his prime in like OKC and stuff because that was when he was an MVP candidate. Yeah. Archer says, "Did you give up on Omniscient Reader?" No, I just haven't started reading. I think because I told you I took a pause from really trying to get into any series after Solo Leveling. I think usually what happens. So here's what happens: when I get really, really into a series and I really love that series, and if it concludes well and everything like that, then what happens next is I have a phase post series where I'm like, then I get into like the community and like extended content, and I'm watching videos on it and stuff like that, and I'm just kind of like in the aftermath of enjoying that series, and then I might go pick up a new series sometime later. So Solo Leveling, I enjoyed it, and then I enjoyed the aftermath part of it as well, and now I switched over to enjoying the NBA playoffs. But now I'm not liking the NBA playoffs, so now I might maybe I'll read Omniscient Reader. That's like right here. Maybe I'll read Kagurabachi or something like that. There's other series. What are the other series I'm supposed to read? I'm also supposed to read like Kingdom and Vagabond and shit. So I'll probably get to those soon. All right, everybody. I am probably going to call it here. I am bummed about the NBA because on the one hand, the teams I want to win are losing, like the Nuggets and the Warriors, and the teams that I want to lose are losing in the wrong way, like the Celtics. So, I mean, at this point, it's looking like. So the Knicks are going to the conference finals. Pacers. So it'll be Knicks-Pacers, which nobody fucking expected. Injuries are clearly, obviously, playing a part in both of those things, but at the same time, the Knicks and the Pacers are playing phenomenally, right? Pacers, Cavs record, right? Yeah, it's 3-1, so it's probably going to be Pacers Knicks. I don't even know if I care about either of those going to the finals. I know the Cavs had injured players, and I know obviously the Celtics now have injured Tatum. It felt like the Pacers and the Knicks could have beaten those teams regardless, though, which is the crazy thing. So that's what makes it complicated. It feels like they had a shot either way. Like they had a good, they might be good enough to beat those. They were making a strong case that they were just the better. They were capable of beating those teams either way. So it doesn't feel like pure injury robbery. But, yeah, it's always going to be controversial. And then, fuck, it looks like the fucking Thunder. I really fucking hope the fucking Thunder don't make it out of the West, man. I really fucking hope the Thunder don't make it out of the West. That would just be so sad. If the Thunder... Okay, I think that's my only thought. As long as the Thunder don't make it out of the West, I'm honestly okay with any outcome. All right. Andrew Nami says, I still have faith in Jokic. Before, it used to be I have faith in Jokic and not the rest of the team. Now it's just like, I'm just shocked. I did not know Jokic could play this bad. This many, like the first game that he did in game 2 is like, okay, you know what? That was understandable because They've played like 8 straight games at this point. This is like they went 7 games with the Clippers, and Jokic really got beat up during that series. And like they're getting back to back to back games, so no rest. It's like every other day is a game. And they already stole one in OKC, and Jokic went all out, getting 42 points that game. So they stole one in OKC. They did what they were supposed to, so they kind of let that second game go. So that's how I rationalized the second game. Game 3, I was like, he played really fucking bad, but they still somehow managed to win. And I remember in game 3, he played decent in overtime. Like he got them points in overtime, and he made good plays and everything like that. So it's just like, okay, he might just be really like super high pressure game. That's probably the worst game that I'll ever see him play. And then game 4, he fucking topped it, and they fucking lost that game. And the craziest part is they were up that game. Like, they had gotten the advantage. They should have closed the deal there, and they would have if Jokic just played like himself, or even like 50% of himself in the final parts. Like, it's his fucking fault that they lost that. So I don't even know, because now it's just like they really, up till these last couple games, I genuinely had come to believe that Jokic was the first player I'd seen since LeBron, like prime LeBron, that I could count on to always deliver at least a solid game, to never have a true playoff like shit the bed game. Okay? Because even other like great players that I've seen, like even Steph still has like just some bad games in the playoffs. Like even in his best runs, like 2022 and stuff like that, there would be some games where he just like goes 0 for like 20 or something, or like 1 for 13 from 3 or something. Like that would just happen. His gravity still made up for it, you could say, I suppose. But like those games would happen, right? Like LeBron was the only player that was pretty much guaranteed like a crazy high floor, where like even if he's not having the best game, he's still probably putting up like 20 something, like probably a near triple double or something like that, right? On still good efficiency, or like not terrible efficiency, like at worst like 40% or something. Like LeBron was the one player that I was like, anytime you need him to come through, he's gonna come through. He might not win that game just because one man can't beat an entire team, but he's still gonna be able to come through. Jokic was the next player that I was like, he pretty much never has bad playoff games. He's always putting up good numbers and carrying the team, and like even if they don't win, he probably pushed hard and like got like really good scoring or something like that. Like even in like last year's Timberwolves series, which was like a bad series by his standards, you go and look at the numbers, he played really fucking well by anybody else's standards. The Clippers series, this first round, I was like, this is maybe the worst series I've seen him play, and it was still like a 25-point triple-double practically on good efficiency. This Thunder series is the first time I'm like, he's just playing like historically bad. So this is genuinely changing my view of him as a player. Because up till now, I had him actually at like the second best guarantee that I'd seen as a basketball player after LeBron. Yeah, Aaron Gordon is unironically the best player in the series. Enranami says, Morge, you didn't see 2011 LeBron. Yeah, I'm saying based on what I saw. Based on what I've seen. Like, from what I've seen, I didn't watch 2011 LeBron. And even with 2011 LeBron, like, so it's a little bit different in that after LeBron kind of reached his, like, after LeBron got past that, the player that he then became from like 2012, 2013, probably like 2013 onwards, was like a player that was just that reliable, right? Could always find a way to come through. And he basically stayed that way till now, his old age, right? Like in his late 30s, obviously he's dropped off. But once LeBron really reached himself, like who he is, and won his first championship, he became that guy, right? This is different with Jokic because Jokic is like you could say 2011 was like, it's pre-2011, post-2011, right? Post-2011 LeBron, let's say, like that dude always was able to find a way, like to perform well in the playoffs. This is very different because with Jokic, it's like he has been at this level, like this MVP level, like not MVP. He's been at this level. Like he won his finals in 2023. He's been best player in the world for some time. He's been like this all-time great playoff performer for some time. And now all of a sudden, he's like no longer like he's having this terrible series. This would be more like if all of a sudden in like 2017 or something, LeBron just suddenly had a really, really bad playoff series and was just like fucking up. This is so different because this is just like once LeBron became himself, he just had like a perfect, like always good in the playoffs record from then on. Jokic, it feels like he's already started that era for himself and he's been always really, really fucking good in the playoffs. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, he does have like a floor that can be really, really low. So this is warping my view of him. All right. All right, everybody. All right. We are going to call it here. Thanks for coming through, everybody. And yeah, this was a fun stream. Got a lot of predictions in. We'll see who's right